YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. Look what we got here. F-86, all new, ultra micro extreme from E-flite. Beautiful scale model. Livery looks just like big ones we've done in the past, except super small, 175 grams, super small. All new battery, FYI, when you order from the links in the video description below, don't forget the 450 milliamp 4S, okay? We're gonna take off right now. We've been fighting weather and we got the opportunity and we're gonna take it. All right, throttle cuts off, 77 millimeters back from the leading edge of the wing for the center of gravity. Here we go. Oh, she's in the air, flying gorgeously, guys. Oh man, that looks so good. And you wanna know why it looks so good? Because check this out. Auto leveling, full safe. I did a safe takeoff. Guys, that is lame for me, but it's awesome that you can do it. Oh yes. That thing looks and feels phenomenal. Beautiful. Full throttle there. Definitely not gonna be a powerhouse for anybody, but it feels great. Very balanced power. All the controls are very subdued and easy. If you're brand new to the RC environment, don't be afraid of this one. We talk a little bit about that in the Unbox build radio setup, and I'm probably a little bit too discouraging on it for brand new pilots because this thing actually flies fairly dang easy. Now I gotta say, beautiful sun. Look at that. And look at the silhouette, it's beautiful, guys. F-86, eat your heart out. This thing, let's see how it lands here. Now we do have full telemetry. And when I say full telemetry, it's full telemetry without a smart pack, guys. This is actually still a dumb pack. It's a 4S. Ooh man, that's gonna land pretty hot. Okay, so let's get into it hard for throttle. Don't let it stall on you. We're gonna slow it down here. Right in the elevator, it feels a little bit weak, but I can tolerate it because it looks so dang good. I want to talk what I'm talking about here. Let's show them the sticks here. The elevator works fine, but it just feels like you got a lot of expo there. And when you slow it down, you got to get heavy on the sticks, okay? That's our 1 minute warning. Absolutely gorgeous. Guys, we're going to try to get you some even better footage when the sun is higher in the sky, because that silver might be blending in with the clouds, but I gotta say the thing is flying like a daydream. We're gonna see if we can put her down. Oh yeah, it's awesome. Really good ground handling. The thing feels like glue when it touches down, and yet you can turn super sharp. Okay, so what we're gonna do is show you the telemetry right now. We'll unhook, and here's our telemetry. Look at that.
Wow.
Tons of battery left. Okay, here we go. Watch this roll, guys. It's so gorgeous. All you do is you give it throttle and she just takes off. That's our timer. Up. Oh, yeah. Out of the throttle on the top of the arc, and there it is, guys. Now, I gotta say, the thing feels soft on the sticks, but I'm okay with it because, dang, it looks good in the air. And when I say soft on the sticks, it feels rock solid. It's just that you have to give a lot of stick input, which means you might even run some negative expo on this plane if you want it to feel a little bit tighter. I don't have a problem with the way it flies. It's just that you have to move the ailerons and elevator quite a bit. And it kind of does remind me of the bigger one that we reviewed not too long ago in terms of the way that it flies. Okay, in ground effect, she flies super reliably. Really easy, not a big change in flight performance, so it's not hard to read. And I don't want to lose this plane because it's so dang cool. And I gotta say, the EPS foam on these ultra micros is definitely one of the areas that leaves something to be desired. That's how they get them light. That's how you end up with 175 grass hops, guys. Now, look what happened there. Let's talk about this. My juice was gone there, okay? Oh. Throttle cuts on. Camera crew's gonna hold that for a minute. Everything is absolutely perfect on this. I mean, it just flies exactly the way I want it to. Now, am I annoyed there's no flaps? Actually, no, because the thing lands super easy. It is still fast. I always love flaps, and we fly on a short runway, okay? Short for this, maybe, but the thing is, I'm gonna tell you this, it's no SR-71. This thing flies and looks the part. I love ultra micros. I am a super scale freak. I love it. It's what I love in model aviation, okay? So if I can get something that flies 90% and it looks the part and it's sub 250, so screw you FAA, then that's perfect. Get this thing right now from the links in the video description below. The battery itself you need. Don't even think about it. Don't do a smaller pack. Yeah. I wouldn't even consider it because you're not gonna hit your CG. Here's the thing, put a couple in series if you want, throw caution to the wind if you want. You can JST to JST, but you're not gonna get the current handling that you get on IC2, okay? Maybe if you got some off brands that got XT30s, you could do an XT30 to an XT30 and a couple of naked pin connections and do it. Just don't short the thing out when you're plugging it in. And by the way, hard plastic canopy, strong magnets, hold it down in position, good steerable nose gear. You may have noticed our trim was a little bit off. I don't think it's because the gear is weak, but ours might be a little teeny bit out of adjustment, okay? Easy correction by squishing that together with a pair of needle nose pliers. Flight times are definitely enough to get your whistle wet, but you are gonna want 2 batteries. And don't forget the adapter if you don't already have an IC2 to IC3 charger adapter, okay? Now, if you're charging this on a dumb charger, you don't need any special apparatus other than the adapters to get you into an XT60 or Deans or whatever is on your charger. But if you're using an S2200 like we do all the time, or even an S155 would be perfect because you can do up to 4S. This is 4S, guys. That's very unusual to have such a small 4S, okay? Then you should be fine on either one of them, okay? You're gonna get your charges quick. It's gonna be plenty of power if you're doing a 55 watt charge. We do a 200 watt times 2 on a 2200, okay? Beautiful details though, absolutely gorgeous, out of box performance, which is exactly what I demand from ultra micros. And if you guys want the experience, check it out from the links in the video description below, guys. Blown away by how fun this is. It's beautiful. It's not gonna be your everyday flyer for most people. If you're gonna do an everyday fly, pull the gear, fly it. I guarantee it's less doggy, but I love wheels up. I love wheels down, and the squishy tires actually worked, okay? Even on small planes. Now, also, I have to admit, I did accidentally start in safe. I didn't do that on purpose, but look how good it performed in safe. I had plenty of pitch authority to get up over and make my turn around the tree lines, and that's something that I can't always say is true. 15. So, guys, all I've got to say is, actually we can put that on the ground, that's no big deal. This thing is absolutely to die for. I love it. The livery is second to none. The only thing you're gonna notice about this that you don't like is a little bit of pitting, and I've seen that on many EPS models. You still get a smooth finish, but we get these gorgeous details like these guns, the different metal there, that is so absolutely phenomenal. All the scale panel lines look phenomenal, and even the dihedral of the wing is perfect, and that's what I'm talking about, guys. I love the scale details. I will forgive a lot if it's scale. Now, like I said earlier, is this gonna be your everyday, go out there, balls to the walls, 3D aerobatic plane? No, but neither would an F-86 in real life, okay? They're designed to go fast, go up against MiGs. It was a new technology. I mean, this is a different plane. It's not gonna be an F-18. It's not gonna be a Generation 5 fighter, for God's sake, okay? Are you gonna go out and do Cobras with this? No, you're not, okay? You wanna know why? Because it feels like it's maybe a little bit nose heavy at 77 millimeters back, which I have a little bump in my wing there and there. But if you can't find it, flip the plane over and you can look right there. That's about where you wanna be. It's just kind of hard to articulate because you're upside down, okay? Also, we did our normal trick that we always do on ultra micros, where we took some tape, went around the battery so we could preserve and share that little battery strap. We'll show you exactly how to do that in our Unbox build radio setup, which should follow immediately the flight or flights. Like we said, we wanna get you one more flight, but I think what we're gonna do is, because that went well, we're gonna wait and see if we can get one more flight. Our weather has been terrible. Also, I had laser surgery on my eyes. We've been sick, and we had all sorts of things going on. Our whole family was sick. And so we're just getting over it, and you can hear it in my voice. But I'll tell you what, this is a good one to come back from, because it is absolutely fantastic in the air, and it's absolutely fantastic as a showpiece in your home, okay? Sure, do you want the big one? Absolutely you do. But do you want this one too? Yeah, because you can't go out and fly the big one unless you happen to live at a FRIA or you've got remote ID installed, okay? We're after March 16th, when the FAA has sent all of their agents among us. And as you can see, the sky has not fallen, although I would have been crying about it myself, admittedly. At this point, I think the hobby will survive. And it's because of awesome planes like this. And you want to know the best way to give the fat middle finger to the FAA? You get an FU 897 and you fly that thing till the wings come off. Hopefully not on the first flight. By the way, fully assembled in the box, all you got to do is take it out, pull the canopy off, which is kind of a lift here and a pull here. Lift and pull, okay? Very easy, plastic, strong piece. Looks like it will never go back on, and yet it does, okay? Get the battery for this plane. I know it's annoying, just like with the Micro Draco. The Micro Draco used another 4S 300, which you didn't have to use, you could use 3S. Do not use 3S on this plane. I don't even know if you'll get airborne, okay? But I'm gonna tell you this, with the telemetry, this thing makes the flight experience fantastic. But it is a shorter flight time than I expected, admittedly, okay? Now, I was balls to the walls on throttle for most of my flight, and you wanna know why that was? Because I just wanted to see it go. It's got plenty of ups, it's got plenty of control authority. I feel like it's gonna be a little bit doggy upside down. You're gonna use up a lot of the throw on your elevator. If somebody really wants to get in and do Cobras, you can undo these and go to the inside hole and you can actuate a little bit more surface movement. But I think you're gonna be better off to try to figure a way to get your battery back a little bit further and run the CG back a little bit, okay? If you're a newer pilot, don't do that. You're gonna break your hopes and dreams on a maiden flight, okay? Now, other considerations. The absence flaps. Take it or leave it, you got low wing loading. The thing still has high speed and low wing loading. I can live with it. I feel like it's a fair compromise on a model. Am I disappointed? A little bit. LEDs. I don't see LEDs on this. Am I disappointed? A little bit. Silver planes, especially this time of day, tend to like to disappear. This time of day is early. That time of day, when it's late, you're gonna get similar characteristics when you get cloud cover like this. LEDs would help that. If you really wanna add LEDs, there's plenty of places you can park wires, okay? If you wanna know how to do it, we've done it years past on a million different planes. I use motor winding wire, and I steal power from these wires, and I go out to the tip of the wings, and I put them in there, and I cover them in CA. They're already current limited resisted, and you got LEDs, and it's gorgeous. Now, I'd like to see that from the manufacturers, and I'm always gonna say that, but I got to say, for what it is, this thing is absolutely beautiful. And I love that we're getting ultra micros again that are just second to none. You get a good hobby grade flight experience, which is not like what you're gonna get from some of the other competitive brands. Now, are we gonna review the competitive brands? Absolutely we are, because we love them too, but in a different way. These things fly like the big boys, only small, and there is limitations on features because we have less channels to work with. And admittedly, sometimes I don't think the manufacturers think people care about flaps, but I do, okay? That's okay, we forgive you, Horizon, because this thing is awesome, okay? Now, that being said, I have been known to add flaps. I am not adding flaps to this. This thing flies good, it lands fine. Our runway is plenty big for flying this thing. And if you had that windsock in any other orientation, you had a little bit of headwind, you could slow this thing down and land it in 50 feet, no problem, okay? But I'm gonna tell you what, the trade-off is, this plane is gonna do better in calm than it is in wind. And I'm telling you that right now because I have experienced it time and time again with ultra micros. They like calm. If you're flying in an area that's protected by trees, that you couldn't otherwise fly the big brothers, okay? It's a great place because a lot of times you knock down a lot of that surface wind you get, okay? Beautiful ground effect. Get in there. Try not to drag your tail on the ground because you practically can. And that's one of the coolest parts about this plane because you can come in there and you can see I even did drag the tip a little bit, okay? Plastic and plastic, okay? Very nice, okay? But I gotta say, the one thing about this you're not gonna like is the fact that it's so dang beautiful. It's gonna be easy, you're gonna scrape the tips, you're probably gonna scrape the tailpipe, and it's gonna eat you up inside because you're gonna feel like you greased the landing, but this thing pivots so far out, look at that, okay? But it takes off like this, it takes off like this. Okay, if it takes off like that, you don't have to worry about scraping on the lift when you roll, but you do have to worry about scraping on the landing, okay? So just keep that in mind. You gotta fly it in level and hope you got a 400-foot long runway if it's dead calm, okay? So, final thoughts, and I apologize for the scratchy voice, guys. The Huff, beautiful, okay? We love the livery. We love the striking yellow. That visibility helps a lot, but it is small. And unless you just had your balls lasered like I did for the 3rd time, make sure you got your glasses because it is small, okay? And it does carry some speed. Now, the cool thing about a UMX is even though it carries speed, it only gets so far away because it's small, okay? But it still gets away. And if it gets away, you're one flip of the switch and you're into safe. Auto level this thing, get yourself reoriented, put it back in AS3X, fly the wheels off, okay? I love the plane. Great job, Horizon. If you guys are interested in helping support Brian Phillips RC and what we do for this RC community, which is basically unbox build radio setups, so we can help people get in the air on something like this, one of your most expensive tools you're gonna have in the hobby, on brand new equipment like this from E-flite, absolutely gorgeous, then look no further than the links in the video description below. You can buy one of these, you can have it on your own shelf, looking at you every time you get ready to rush out for work for that day, and you can think, I wish I was flying that instead of going to work. That's what you can do. And it's gonna be amazing. And when you get home and you got that quick evening flight opening, you can slam this thing in the air, unlike the big brother, big sister, because this thing you can fly legally in the front yard if you got a big enough one, okay? So definitely sub 250 makes a difference. It makes up for some of the other concerns that we might have. Now, those concerns are not unwell-founded. It's just that I feel like overall the package deal is good and you're gonna like this thing, okay? Now, is this the SR71? No, this thing flies very good. The SR71 is a beautiful talking part. I mean, I want that thing on the coffee table so I can talk about it, and I love looking at it. It's definitely not an everyday flyer, right? Which we said when we reviewed it. Beautiful plane, new technology, we love all those features. This thing is closer to the everyday flight feel, but for me, I want to keep it gorgeous, okay? Because it's going to be a talking piece for years to come. All right, the other thing you can do if you want to support us and you don't want to buy this plane, you don't want to find another plane on brianphillipsrc.com, to review, look at, see our video. We've got thousands of them up right now. We have Patreon. We have YouTube members for monthly support. We have PayPal for one-timers and YouTube super thanks for one-timers. But we still firmly believe the best way to support Brian Phillips RC is grow the hobby with us. We want more people flying. We want more people finding success. We want to help you get from the chair to the air. And this is one of the ways you can do it, is a plane like this. Is this for beginners? I'm not going to go so far as to say that, but I got to say the thing is fairly easy to fly. But where you're going to struggle is landing, okay? Just like any plane. Now, does it fly like a trainer jet? It's pretty dang good. Is it the Habu? Probably not. But is it similar in flight characteristics when you're coming into land? It kind of is. It's just very forgiving the way it sits down. I was super surprised with that narrow wing. You see the wheels? Mm-hmm. They're not very wide. I thought it was gonna tip like crazy. Now, maybe in a crosswind, but I'll tell you what, man, that thing put down and it stuck to the ground like glue. So that means maybe even you can do it. So if you're sitting on the sidelines, get yourself a 700 millimeter apprentice STOL. Learn to fly, and then get this, okay? Maybe 4th or 5th plane, you're gonna find great success. They call it a skill level 2, and I think that's a pretty fair assessment. Okay, guys, thanks for bearing with me in my nasty voice, but I gotta say, super excited for this. We love it when they come out with new UMXs. I was a sucker for them when we first got into the hobby. It's one of the reasons I got into the hobby, and I hope it'll suck you in too, because once you get in, you're not gonna wanna get out, because there's just so much cool stuff coming out, and it comes out so quick you probably won't be able to keep up. And that's what we're trying to do, which is tough. All right, guys, that's all we got for you today. Thanks so much for watching. We appreciate you being part of our channel. Our Unbox build radio setup will follow. And if we do get another flight, it'll be right after this, or it'll be after the Unbox or something like that. And we appreciate you being here with us. Thanks so much for your support. Having a couple weeks off for illness and laser of my balls has hurt my soul. But yet, when there's blizzards in March in Iowa, what do? If you're Brian Phillips RC, you go fly. Right. Unless you have no voice and your entire family's sick. So guys, thanks so much for being with us. So much more right around the corner from Brian Phillips RC. Thanks for watching. YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. What do we have here? We have the E-flite F-86. Absolutely gorgeous, super detailed, telemetry equipped AS3X, safe, all the stuff you expect. And it flies on a 4S 450 milliamp hour battery. It's all new. Make sure you get one. Check it out in the links to the video description below. We're gonna fly wheels up, wheels down, but you can't remove the gear. You need one Phillips screw to be removed on the front. All right, take off flaps. There are no flaps, that's right. Here we go. Look at that thing, she's airborne. Guys, AS3X and safe. You guys may have noticed it's not screaming like a wild animal. It sounds like a little EDF jet. Beautiful, folks. Look at the ups. 30 millimeters of pure delight. Just gliding. Inside pass. So guys, if you are brand new to the hobby, this thing is pretty dang close to almost a first EDF, but I'm still gonna push and say, don't do it, guys. Get yourself the 700 millimeter STOL Apprentice. You'll enjoy it, and then you can get this thing second, third, and you can genuinely do it. Now let's see how this does. Oh yeah! Almost did a touch and went. Whew, UPS stick almost hit me too. So now one thing you're gonna notice about this plane when you're flying, this is our second flight. Not 100% sure how things are gonna lay out in the video. Let's try stall turn. Oh yes, beautiful. Hard on the throttle, get that thing flying, baby. Absolutely gorgeous. You're gonna wanna fly it in low wind conditions. And the stick, you just gotta use the elevator. It's like, feels a little bit spongy, but it's actually not hard to fly. Right overhead. And so if you guys are brand new to the hobby and you're not used to flying these EDF jets, it's a little bit unusual to have to move the sticks like this, okay? So watch this, I'm about 50% throttle and you really gotta move the throw on your elevator. Now I could probably change that by just changing my expo setting. I did not set the expo exactly per manual. I did our normal 5%, 10%. Right at the top. Oh, that was so cool. I got on the throttle hard and just let that thing fall right at the top. So cool, inside pass. Absolutely gorgeous up against the sunset, folks. Wind is coming from our right, our back, and just flying into it. Light winds, but not nothing, okay? Our flight earlier was very calm, but we had a lot of silhouetting because of the early time frame. Oh, yes. And yes, there is telemetry, so you can see what your pack voltage is as you're flying. And that is so nice. I'm gonna go hit this opening here. A little bit of turbulence there. Oh yeah, that thing's gonna be gorgeous. Beautiful line there. Hard on the elevator for those turns, guys. And so what I'm gonna do is, we have about 275 feet of useful runway. I'm gonna go to this low point here where there's a gap in the trees. And then I'm just gonna slow it down. I'm just gonna see if I can pull that nose up just a little bit. And there it is, guys. Ready to go. We're gonna overshoot the runway with the UMX. It's terrible. But look, 20 seconds over 3 minutes. And as you can see, we still have a little bit of juice, but I'm gonna tell you this, throttle cuts on. Don't forget to order the 450 milliamp 4S. Okay, this is not a smart pack, but it looks like it could be. There was another smart pack, I think it was a 3S, and it was close to the size class, actually had a smart chip on it. This thing is just a dumb battery that happens to use IC2, okay? So IC2, of course, is gonna do better current handling than the JSTs that you've had in the past, like for instance, with the Micro Draco, that had a JST and it was a 400 milliamp hour? 300 milliamp hour 4S. But guys, that difference is gonna make your flight times diminish drastically, and also, you're not gonna hit 77 millimeters on your center of gravity, okay? So what I wanna do is I wanna take one more flight. We're gonna pause, I'm gonna get this thing on the runway, and we're gonna just do one quick sorties, take off and landing again. Okay, so we're just gonna set this down. I'm not gonna change my pack. I'm just gonna show you, you can take off in short order if you want. We kind of took off with the wind because the wind shifted directions. We're gonna go this way. The thing has plenty of power to get in the air. It's got good wing loading. It doesn't feel like it's exceptionally heavy, but I am gonna tell you this. You have to move the sticks more than you're gonna expect. Okay, here we go. Full throttle, get that thing airborne, there it is. You guys see how short of a runway we used? That was only probably a 70-foot runway. Okay, so I'm 60% stick, just slowing it down. I wanna see if I can get a nice, relaxed landing because the wind has calmed down nicely. Okay, guys, if you didn't already know this, they lasered my balls. Whoa. Last week on Friday, and I'm still gonna overshoot. Really rolls. Now, I'm gonna tell you, because they lasered my balls, PRK style, that means I'm still having a little bit hard time seeing. I'm only like 5 days into this recovery. And so what that means is I'll be able to see like a lot better next week, okay? So when I'm doing these things, I'm playing it a little bit more safe than usual, and I can't wait to be able to see a distance. By the way, if you guys wanna see, get LASIK, it's awesome. I know it's more now than when I bought it, but boy, it was like the best $4,500 or whatever it cost, because I blew through so many more times on contact lenses and glasses and stuff, and I can see way better now, and I love it. So here we go. Beautiful plane. Absolutely love this thing. Show you the landing gear, no damages, nice soft touchdowns, a little bit of play here, okay? Nice soft squishy tires. And the thing just does really good landing. And I didn't even really get that down well. I was way above ground effect and stalled it down. No damage, no issues. Good steerable nose gear. We have found that the UMX planes have so much better ground handling than they used to. And yet my nose gear is probably still got a little bit of wear and tear on it. Okay, you see this? There's a slot in there. So you're allowed to move back and forth a little bit. So that's kind of nice. I didn't notice that until just now. The gear door do create a little bit of drag. So if you're gonna hand launch this thing, you're gonna find that the thing will fly a little bit longer and a little bit harder. But also, if you fly this upside down, you're gonna have to give it a lot of elevator. I noticed that when I was flying, and I just feel like it's a little heavy on the elevator axis, but it's not bad. And then the rudder is just like perfectly tamed. And because of the little bit of dihedral that you see on both the main wing and the tail, the thing just flies super intuitively. Between AS3X and just the shape and body type of this plane, the thing is just tame. It's very easy to fly, but you still have to keep your speed up because it is an EDF and it is a jet with a swept wing. Okay, so if you have a swept wing and you bring it in and you stall it, that's not gonna be a good time for you, okay? So just remember, you gotta fly the plane. And if you slow down too much, you will get bit, okay? Now, I haven't been bit yet on this, mostly because I've been practically careful. And I can tell you this flies a lot like the big brother that we flew not too long ago. Now, I'm not here to talk about that plane today, but the truth is, to me, it is strangely similar flying, okay? However, there are no flaps, there are no air brakes, there are no retracts. That's one of the trade-offs for 175 grams all up weight, battery and all. FU 897. I knew it was something like that.
Yeah, you're close.
So if you guys are wanting to fly in your backyard, go for it, folks. If you want to fly to Freya, whatever. If you want to plop a remote IED in here, I don't know why you would ever do that, but you could. And the truth is, this thing does really good. I like it. Is it gonna be my everyday jet flyer? I don't really fly jets every day. I fly prop planes as my everyday flyers. That's the truth. And we have a lot of jets, guys, a lot of EDF jets. Now, is this the first, the best, the last? No, it's none of those things. But what it does really good, and that is looking absolutely scale and beautiful. I set this next to the Big Brother sister last night after we were done filming our Unbox build radio setup, and I just could not believe everything looks exactly the same, okay? So the EPS foam is gonna show a little bit more damage, it's gonna scrape a little easier, but it's gonna be lighter. And if you want a hobby grade flight experience, look no further than the F-86. This thing is sweet. The Sabre from E-flite, you're gonna love it. Beautiful plastic lined inlet, guns, details all over this thing look absolutely gorgeous. Also plastic on the exhaust tube. And that's important because the second thing I'm gonna warn you about is that when you come into land, you're gonna hit the tailpipe. You just will, because you're gonna come in here and try to flare, and it's just very reserved in the flare. I figured it would come in here and flare and fall over on itself like a Viper. Nope. You come in, you flare, it's just like, okay, when do I touch down? Drag. That's what's gonna happen. So also, the other thing I can tell you is my first takeoff, I accidentally had it in safe, like a moron. And I'm not saying it's bad to have safe on, but I'm just saying I didn't mean for it to be, because it is just tied to the gear switch. So you don't even have to do forward programming to set this thing up. It's about as basic as it gets. So check out the Unbox build radio setup where we make it even more complicated than necessary, as usual.
Right.
So hopefully we've answered all your questions about the F-86. Is it the best, fastest, grayest, greenest, whatever? No, it's none of those things. But what it is very good at what it does, and that is looking beautiful and flying reliability. And it's gonna give you a good, true to scale performance it's gonna feel like a bigger plane, okay? Drawbacks, as you could see from those landings, okay, at sunset, admittedly, it's early spring, and so we still have the trees, and it's harder for me to see because of my eye. But I'm gonna tell you what would assuage this plane of any issue seeing. What is it?
LEDs.
That's right, okay? So it's a bummer we don't see those. LEDs can be added. I used to do it all the time, and if you guys decide you wanna do it, all you gotta do is steal power here, use some motor winding wire, run it out here, you'll never even know it's there. Put your LED in, it's already current limited. Just figure out your positive, figure out your negative, run out that motor winding wire, and just land it on your LED. Do a red and a green, you'll be golden. You'll see the thing in practically, you know, dark, okay? Now, also, does this thing need an afterburner? I don't know. That would be really cool to help with orientation, but we haven't seen that before. So there's some things that you could add to this and make it just phenomenal. But I'm gonna say this right now. I like the way the plane flies. I like the weight of the plane. Obviously, we're not gonna get retracts on a small plane like this, but not having flaps, it's a bummer, but it's not necessary because the thing comes in and it slows down all right. However, you may have noticed I ran off the runway. That's because it's so calm. If you get a little bit of headwind, you should be able to slow down and get your stops a little earlier. Now, am I disappointed there's not thrust reverse? The same way I am that there isn't on other UMXs we've seen. And you can't see the menu when you scroll through here, okay? We already tried that in the Unbox build radio setup. So if you're looking for thrust reverse, don't look here, okay? Now, do you need thrust reverse to land this thing? No. Could I bring this down and touch down further down our runway? Yes. But as mentioned earlier, lasered balls. This one, okay? Just this one. So I mean, still having trouble seeing. So I'm being a little bit careful, a little bit cautious. Once I touch down closer to my UPS stick there, the anti-UPS stick,
yep,
then it's gonna be good. And that's not just against UPS, it's also against FedEx, DHL, US Postal Service, Amazon,
driveway,
everybody that can't stay on the driveway. So if you work for UPS, I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so in closing, do I like this plane? Yes, I do. Is it the most exhilarating experience I've ever had in RC? No, but it's very good. And I can say that for any UMX I've ever flown, even the ones we love. Is the Micro Draco the most exhilarating experience I've ever had? No. You know what's even more exhilarating? The big one, okay? Same thing is true for almost every UMX we've ever reviewed. Does that take anything away from how sweet this is? The fact that it's sub 250? The fact that it's gloriously greasy in the air and just touches down without effort at all and squats down to the ground and doesn't tip and goes straight as an arrow on the ground? Does it take anything away from that? Absolutely not. It does those things and it does them amazing. I can't believe how easy it is to land this thing. And that's even after I screwed up a couple of landings. The soft tires make up where my skill lets off, okay? That's good. Now, okay, like I said, complaints about the LEDs, lack of flaps, lack of retracts. You're not gonna get retracts on a UMX someday. That'd be awesome. Single 9-gram servo, couple mechanical linkages. Oh man, it would be so cool. But I'm gonna tell you the truth. I think we're probably not gonna see it anytime soon, and here's why. Weight and cost of engineering. I just don't think we're gonna see it. I would love to see it, especially on jets. But you know what? You got one screw, you got some pressure fit landing gear. I'm not even gonna pull them out, because guess what's gonna happen? I'm gonna pull it out, I'll break something on camera, and I'm gonna be all annoyed. Because I love wheels up and wheels down. And by the way, if I'm gonna have scale looking landing gear on a UMX, and I can do wheels up and wheels down, I don't feel like the gear took that much away from this plane. The gear take a lot away from other planes. This one, I felt like it's kind of like no big deal. Okay. Also, do I like the fact that I have to get a different battery? Absolutely not. That's a little bit annoying, but at the same time, I am so glad they didn't just say, just put a 3S in there. We just released another 3S, just use that. Or excuse me, a 300 milliamp 4S. I am so glad they didn't push that because this thing needs the fly time of the 450 milliamp hour. Also, secondly, if you got XT60 equipped 2Ss and you want to put them in series, or IC2 equipped and you want to build a series adapter, remember, those IC2s are kind of weird still, okay? You can build series adapters, you can buy those things, then you can do it. But remember, there's not that much room in here. It looks huge, and this thing does have a big cavity. Plastic, by the way, inside out, this whole thing is plastic. You don't have to worry about breaking it. Good call, E-flite. This is a wearing part. It needs to be serviceable. You're gonna get in and out. Guess where it's going to? Plastic and to magnets. So you have a really rock solid connection. Better than we've seen, because there's nothing I hate more than the wear and tear on a UMX when you gotta pull that little nose piece off. Now, is that gonna stop me from liking UMXs? No, but I like this better, so good job. Secondly, look at the clearance. Look how short that lead is, okay? There's not a lot of room to work with, so just plan on it being tight. If you buy this pack, it's gonna fit. I used my tape job and I put the Velcro on there because I don't like Velcroing just the one pack, because I've got two and I want to be able to swap them out. We'll show you how to do that in the Unbox Build radio setup if you guys just stay tuned. Now, I'm not sure what order you're going to see these videos in, the flights, but we have an earlier morning flight where it's colder, obviously, because I got like a coat and stuff on. And then we've got this evening flight where we've got the beautiful sunset. I'm going to tell you this. I really like the way this plane flies. I think you're going to enjoy it. If it's a matter of I got to have it and I'm maybe not there as a pilot yet, don't beat yourself up. It's not that hard to fly. But is this like the best beginner EDF? No. And I think that's one of the stupidest things we can say reviewing RC airplanes. Because is there really a best one other than the Habu? The Habu flies at like 0 miles an hour. I mean, it's like the easiest thing ever. My camera crew could fly it.
Really?
She could. I bet she could. Yeah, it's actually easy. So the thing is, if you've got easy and you've got a perfect entry, why don't we just go to that instead of finding all these other jets that are considerably harder? Like F-15 Eagle, all I'm gonna say is trees really like eagles. And then also the F-16 70, give me a break. It's not as easy as a Habu. It's not even close. Okay, get yourself a 50 millimeter Habu, keep the cost really low. Get yourself a high quality transmitter. You're gonna use it for hundreds of planes eventually, or maybe 50s or 10s or whatever, but you're still gonna split the cost. It's gonna be like 10 bucks worth a plane. You know, spread your cost out. Get into it early. Don't depend on DXSs and DXEs. And then you can start working through the ranks. And I'm telling you, you are not gonna wanna miss this step. It's a good step. You're gonna really enjoy it. Okay, camera crew, what are your thoughts on this plane now that you've seen it twice?
I like it. When you first started flying, this is probably one of the last planes that I would have ever picked, just like because it looks different and it's...
Oh, you don't like the F-86?
But I do now. I think it's a super cool plane. I love the way it flies. It's a fun plane to watch. I like it. I think it's cool. I love the
yellow.
Yep.
I wish we had a little better lighting for our video, guys, but it's been so dang windy around here.
Yes.
And we got a reprieve today that has been glorious, and yet it's still not perfect.
Not perfect.
Okay.
I think it's a great plane. I think it's a great hobby, great experience. If you're looking to get into a jet and you've got a little bit of experience under your belt, I was surprised with how well it landed. It took off and landed.
I know, and it really does.
Surprised.
Like, it sticks down, and it's just like, hey, I'm down, I'm good to go. You don't need to worry about me bouncing back up or flipping or getting blown over.
I thought it was gonna be tipsy and
it's not. Look how narrow these wheels are.
Yep.
I thought the thing was gonna tip like crazy and we're gonna be fighting it constantly.
No.
No, you just put it down and it's like, hey, I'm good.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Which, to be honest with you, part of that comes from having these gear that don't have a ton of play on them, but they are springy, okay? So the fixed gear, especially the nose gear, has that movement. And by the way, the actuation is plenty good and a lot of it, okay? So now one thing about the rudder too, as we're talking about it, you will get a little bit of roll tendency from the rudder. So don't be surprised you have to counter, well, I should say you might need to reverse couple that by using a little bit of contrary aileron as you go into a turn if you want to try to keep it flatter. So just be prepared for it. I don't think it's really unusual in this type of design with that dihedral. And the swept wing really adds a different element to the flight performance on this. So if you're used to other EDF jets and stuff like that, it just flies good. Really easy to hand launch if you decided to do it. I am gonna say, there's no like hard place to grab onto this. So it's not like you have to have weird pockets and stuff like that. So I like that. And those things always look ugly. By the way, cheater, one of the nicest looking cheater holes we've seen in a while.
Yeah.
Okay. Now also, if you decide to fly it, I just love wheels up and wheels down. So I'm probably not even gonna take my gear off. Plus our gear, our grass is really short right now, okay? So maybe in a couple of months when we've got some hay grass coming in here, we can go and fly it and just like stall it into the tall grass.
Yeah. It sounds great.
It does. Listen, I just want to show you guys this again. That's full throttle. It's not screaming.
No.
It's not like annoying like the other ones.
Visions of what was the very first EDF jet that you had?
The 28 millimeter Habu.
Yes.
And that thing was terrible for me. And I was a terrible pilot at the time too.
Right, it was not the right
And it was way too fast.
Yeah.
It was not easy for me. And that was before they changed the shape and design of the Habu. That was more of a fast jet then, okay?
This one sounds great.
Yeah, the 30 millimeter is a huge improvement in terms of performance. The EDF, the fan, the combo for the power is so much better than what we've seen in the past on others. Now, Is it doggy? I don't think it's doggy. Is it insane fast? No.
Right.
So don't expect it to be. But you could see where I went up there and I stall turned it and she just sprung to life immediately. And I love that because a lot of times with jets, it takes a second for them to come to life. But you got huge control surfaces. Look at the movement on the rudder. And by the way, do you see that little counterbalance at the front of the rudder? That is so sweet.
Oh, yeah.
And then obviously the elevator has a good amount of throw, okay? And then the ailerons are very big and robust. So you're not gonna have a lack for control authority on this plane, okay? And we've seen that before in other planes. The other thing too is if you're thinking about doing just toy grade, entry level, hold down the cost, we don't wanna talk you out of that as much as we wanna talk you into something better. Save your dollars and cents. Get this thing instead of one of the throwaways. And I say throwaways loosely because I know everybody's got different budgets. They're in different places financially. They're in different places time. They're in different places. Maybe they got just small planes, okay? This might be too much for your flight arena still. But I'm gonna tell you this. The experience is like a big plane in a small package. And that's why it's an ultra micro extreme.
And if you've had one of those little toy grade planes and you're like, I'm just not a very good pilot,
then don't get this yet.
But it might not be you. It might be the plane.
That's the other thing, because we've had a few of them, and especially of late, that have like really sucked.
Yep. And we've seen a couple comments recently, people that had a toy grade and then they got something that's
and they're like,
grade.
And what have I been missing?
Right. I can fly. It was the...
And the truth is you might learn a couple of, stick maneuvers that give you bad habits. I wouldn't worry about the bad habits as much as I would worry about the better controls.
Yeah.
Like this is like flying a big one, okay?
Time and place.
Yep, that's right. And that's what we try to do here on Brian Phillips RC. We don't feed you a line of BS and say it's the best thing ever and, oh yeah, I don't even want LEDs on there. Oh, flaps, oh, screw that stuff. No, I would love both. But the truth is, does it need it? I don't know, probably not. Do I want them? Yeah, still. Do I need an F-86 Ultra Micro? Yeah, obviously.
Of course.
So if you guys are brand new to the hobby and you're like, hey, can I do it as a brand new pilot? Just don't. You probably, could maybe. But I would never tell somebody as a new pilot to do this.
Nope.
You're gonna fly too fast, you're gonna have a bad experience, and you're gonna quit. Or you're gonna be more likely to quit. Now, if you buy a big one and you do the same thing, you're gonna definitely quit. Because then your wife is gonna be like, you spent how much on that? And then you crashed it? She's gonna say it just like that too. If you get an Ultra Micro, you're gonna be less involved. So you might be, the survivability from the spouse factor might be a little better.
But I said in the unbox, don't buy a pretty plane for your first plane.
Yeah, just get a simple plane. Get the
simple.
Apprentice Stoll.
Yep.
You will love it. And by the way, you'll still be shaking in your boots, freaking out the first time you realize I'm in control of that thing and I have to land.
Yeah.
And it's a scary experience, but it's also one of the best parts of it. Don't undermine your first year, 6 months. You will have so much fun. You won't believe me until you do it, okay? It's not the most exciting planes, but it's the most exciting period of your experience. Because when you're brand new and you literally look at every flag that you drive by for like the first 1,000 days you're doing it, and every time you see a limp flag, you're like, I should quit my job.
You still think that, and it's been way more than 1,000 days.
Yeah, it has been a little longer. But the truth is, when you're really into it, you're gonna be really into it. And I'm telling you, at the beginning, don't think flying an Apprentice Stoll or a Sport Cub S, UMX, or something that's just basic.
Yep.
You're gonna still love the experience. And then you can lust after this for like your 5th or 6th, or buy one, put it on the shelf, pull it out, look at how awesome it is, and then like quickly go outside and like do a taxi test and accidentally crash it into a tree, and then quickly glue it back before your wife sees it and put it away. That's what's gonna happen. I'm just telling you.
Did you do that once? Is that you speaking
I never did that. Not even once. So guys, we have covered all the bases, we hope.
And then some.
And the truth is, do you need an NX10 to do this? No. But if you get the NX10, you're gonna spend, what, 550 bucks or 600 bucks across 20 planes in your first couple of years of flying. It's gonna be a rounding error, guys, I'm telling you. Just get the transmitter you want. If you wanna buy an IX20, you can spread that out over hundreds of planes. And I'm not just exaggerating. You think you're just gonna need one high wing and one jet. And you're gonna be wrong, because that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I was wrong that one time. Do you remember?
Yeah. This morning? Or no?
So, in closing, FAA FU 897, 174 grams, or 175, or whatever it was. Yeah, we'll show it in the Unbox build radio setup. Don't forget to buy the battery. Don't forget to buy the adapter if you don't have one to go into your IC3 or IC5, or I don't know why you'd go IC5 to IC2, but you could do it. If you don't already have adapters to go to you don't need a smart charger, but you can use a dumb charger if you have. You got to set it up on a smart charger. We use the S2200. It's been a great charger, 200 watts, dual channels. It's like always my go-to. But the S155 would be fine for this because that goes up to 4S, okay? But it's only 55 watts and it's gonna get you by for a long time. Remember, chargers are not like transmitters. You're always gonna want a couple chargers, okay? But you don't really need like 4 or 5 transmitters unless you have 4 or 5 people flying, okay? Make sense? All right, guys, that's all we got for you. The sun is setting, I'm cold. I have painting stuff out. You may have noticed paint on my arm. It's been a busy couple of weeks. We've been sick. I had my balls lasered. I mean, what else has happened? Oh yeah, we put a backup battery in our house. That was kind of a big deal. We had to clear out the basement. That was terrible.
Super terrible, very terrible.
So it's been like all hands on deck, 24/7, marathon style. Oh yeah, and by the way, be sick, the entire family.
All of everybody,
for 2 weeks.
Except me. And we're getting ready to get back to work on the pond. Still just
It's
that.
wet, guys.
It is.
That's what she said.
She
was talking about it earlier. So hopefully the pond guy is going to be here in the next couple of weeks. Otherwise, I'm going to cry. And I will put my tears directly into the pond to wet it.
You have to go cry in the pond.
In the pond. Hey, kids, get out there. Cry out there. All right. Leave your comments. Leave your questions down below. We'll do our best to get to them. If you guys want to buy one, help support Brian Phillips RC. That's the best thing you can do. It's better than Patreon. It's better than PayPal. It's better than YouTube members and YouTube super thanks. But we're not saying don't do those things. We're just saying, if you think you could get away with this one, get it. You'll like it. Buy it from the links. Buy the battery. Don't forget the adapters. We'll link to the adapters if you don't already have them. And if you guys haven't, taken the plunge on a transmitter, just go for it, guys. There's always going to be some sale in 6 months. Don't wait for it. You're not going to live forever, okay? 6 months might be the difference between getting the next awesome plane or not, okay? Because once you get this thing under your belt, it's going to be a non-issue for you. I promise. I ended up with the DX18, never thought of them again for like years, okay? And it was one of the best decisions I ever made, okay? And that was dollars and cents that we were earning. It wasn't like they sent it to me or something. I bought that crap and I loved it. I still have it, by the way. All right, that's all you get. YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. We're glad you're here with us. We appreciate you being here with us. And we hope you liked our videos. It's super short as always.
Right.
Or maybe not. So if you have questions about the radio setup and stuff coming right now or after the other flight, stay tuned. So much more from Brian Phillips RC. YouTube, feels like it's been a million years. We're gonna unbox this thing right now. It's gonna be amazing. I'm back in full force. Lost my voice for like 2 weeks. Everybody loved it. Except for me. It was so lonely. So we're gonna open this box. If you're brand new to Brian Phillips RC, we unbox them, we build them, we radio set them up. Oh my goodness, it's a UMX F-86 Sabre, 30 millimeter EDF, electric ducted fan, if you don't know what that stands for. Pretty exciting, all new from Horizon Hobby from E-flite. And as you can see, it is a gorgeous, beautiful little UMX F-86 Sabre. Okay, so one of the reasons we love UMX planes is because the build is so involved.
My favorite.
Done. Amazing. Okay guys, if you're brand new to Brian Phillips RC, don't worry. We're gonna help you get this set up all the way from start to finish. And part of what we have to do is pull this out and look on the bottom.
Yep.
There's a manual here. So I'm just gonna pull this out real quick. Now, why do I need a stinking manual?
So you can ignore it?
Exactly. But for those of you that want to read and stuff like that, words, this would be the brand you want because they will have manuals. Now, If you don't want to read and things like that, then you can just watch Brian Phillips RC. We'll show you how to do it, because who really wants to read a manual anyway? I probably won't that much. The camera crew will. Yes. She'll correct me.
Yes.
And you, hopefully. Okay, so we're gonna untape this. Worst part of this build so far is I ripped my tape in half.
Oh.
Hate it when that happens.
How are you gonna reuse it for the next 10 years?
I don't know. This is pretty good tape, hon.
I know, we better save that. Never know.
Okay, so we're just gonna take this off. Okay, as you can see, these things are easily packed up for transportation. Okay, so we're just gonna pick this up. Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. That's not foam to protect the foam from the foam. It's like rubbery
it's not
stuff.
Foam? Oh.
That's kind of weird. I've never seen that before, and I like it. Okay, so before we get too excited, we're gonna look at this right now. It's got the huff over here, which is pretty sweet. Interestingly enough, we did another plane that may or may not be in the background recently that looked a lot like it.
Might be, might not.
So as you can see, ball links, ultra, micro, linear, long throw servos, cheater, and beautiful cheater, I might add. Mm-hmm. Looks like 2 mount screws to get to the EDF, which is nice. Ball link on the aileron. I'm noticing no flaps. That would be awesome if there was. And we have some somewhat squishy tires. They look like they're quick removable. And the drag-inducing nose gear, okay? So these are removable, and as you can see, we've got a nice plastic lined opening for the air inlet, and you can see the EDF fan there or here. Very detailed, very beautiful. Scale lines are beautiful. FU 897. Thought maybe they were talking about the FAA for a second there. I got kind of excited. So as you can see, it's gonna sit, what?
There's a little baggie in there before you close it up.
There's a bag in here, guys. The bag has stuff in it. So as you can see, there's stuff in there, okay?
Oh, what is that stuff?
Now, if you guys are noticing that the tires are dirty and stuff like that, that's probably because product development would have evaluated this one. So that way you guys don't miss out on one you can order. All right, so speaking of ordering, if you want to help support Brian Phillips and all the stuff we do here on Brian Phillips RC, all you have to do is look no further than the links in the video description below. You can get one of these for yourself, whether it's an early order. Man, look at the guns. That's so beautiful. Love that it's miscolored. So sweet. We've got the fuel cap. Beautiful. Huge. And that's going to be kind of hard to undo if we need to, right there. Jeez, it's pointed down. The ball link. Same thing here, you can get in at this spot. So we're on the outside, really long elevator. Look at that. The control surface is huge. Okay, beautiful rudder.
Is that plastic on the?
Yep, the tail, which is really important because you're gonna drag that tail when you come into grease landings beautifully, because look how long that lever arm is. Goodness gracious. So you're gonna be like, oh yeah. I mean, it might be better for yours. So let's see what it looks like inside. How does the canopy come off? Oh, it comes forward. That's all plastic. Okay, interesting. Steerable linkage for the steerable. Oh man, what's this? Hold on, multi-purpose brick. There's adapters in there. What the heck is going on with those adapters? Let's first of all get these scissors and just do a little bit of work here. We just got a little nip and tuck to do here. First part of the radio setup is, whoops, oh dang it, oh shoot. Oh.
We'll file that away.
That fell right into the
safekeeping
permanent filing cabinet. Okay, so we have an, looks like an IC2. It does have the smart data lead, but there's no data lead going back to the board. So I don't think it's gonna do us much good. And as you can see, it's got, oh, it looks like 1, 2, 3 open channels. I doubt they're even available. And then we've got an XT30 or an XT20 multi-conductor connector that's going back to the EDF module. So that's kind of a unique setup. We haven't seen that before, okay? But also we haven't seen plastic like this on an ultra micro. It's very structurally sound. It's not thin, it's kind of heavy duty. It does make me nervous because it feels kind of heavy. Speaking of heavy, we're gonna get the scale right now. We're not messing around. We're just going straight to the scale stuff. And I'm not talking about scale details. I'm talking about cooking tools. Okay, so we're gonna turn this on right here. Turn this on. It's probably in the wrong unit of measure, which would be
because the rest of the people that use this.
Yep. Oh, while we're talking about the wrong unit of measure, I just want to talk about this. Don't forget, if you're going to buy this plane, you're going to want to get a 450 milliamp 4S. And you're like, are you kidding me? A new battery? Nah, I'm not. Because here's the thing. When you order this plane, we always do this. We always put links to the batteries that we use. You may have noticed on another plane recently, the Draco, amazing micro Draco. We had a new battery size on that one too, which was a 4S 300 milliamp hour. Now these are not smart batteries, even though they have the smart apparatus connector. You'll note that there is no additional third lead there. It's just a discharge lead in the IC2 variety with a balance lead, okay? Remember, 4S. That means there's not enough room on this real estate for the smart chip. And I think the first size that actually gives you smart would be on the 450 50C, and that happens to be a 3S. So just to give you guys an idea, see the difference in size? Barely different. So I don't know if Spectrum is maybe on the edge of getting us those smart chips in here, but my understanding is this is just straight up not a smart pack. I would love it if I was wrong. I don't think I am though. And we are gonna open that box, by the way. So don't forget, if you don't have one of these little adapters, you can either make one or you can buy one, but we will link to this as well, okay? Don't forget, if you're getting this plane, you need the battery. Don't forget, okay? It's very important because it's a new size, okay? Yes, I know that's annoying. We agree, okay. All right, so why do we agree it's annoying? Because it's a new size. Nobody likes new sizes. The manufacturers don't even like new sizes because it's a new thing they have to deal with, okay? All right, so on, it's in grams. The money shot. Let's see. First of all, can we get this on here? Probably not. Okay, we're gonna put the battery in. We don't have our little strap built yet. We don't have any Velcro attached, which, did we get Velcro?
We did. Yes, there is Velcro in there.
Velcro and a little, that's probably to take the EDF fan on and off. And then a couple of decals or something like that. I don't even know what the heck those are.
I can't tell.
Doesn't matter. Oh, it looks like decals that you can put onto your landing gear door. So, whatever, it's kind of weird. So let's just lay this in here for now. That's gonna go there. And like I said, it's a new size, so I am not familiar with how this is gonna fit. But look, that little that IC2 is not very big. Like, it's super short lead. Goodness gracious, is that gonna fit? Yes, it does.
It does.
Okay? So now I can lay this on here and we'll see if we're sub 250. Come on, baby, give it to me. With the gear, I am, oh, look at that. I am totally missing the tail by inches.
Oh, you are.
And when I say inches, I mean like millimeters.
Not even, yeah.
Show them the scale.
175.
Turn the light on. 175, folks.
Nice.
That is 175 grams. You are allowed sub 250 and you're flying without FAA magic involved. Which means you're either flying in a FRIA or you have your stupid remote ID that everybody hates.
Yeah.
And yet they still exist if you want one, okay? If you want to be compliant.
But you don't need it for this because you're sub 250.
Exactly, camera crew. Thank you for pointing that out again, okay? So are we done with all the cooking tools? Do we need any toothpicks?
Time for dinner, but.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so real quick, if you haven't already figured this out, because I want to just reiterate this, sweet new plane, you're gonna need a new battery. I hate telling you that, but it's the truth, guys. 4S, let's show you again, 450 milliamp hour, and look at all that excess space. Not, okay? So no, don't get the wrong size battery. It's not gonna fit, okay? There is not extra room in there.
There is not.
This is how the battery is gonna come packaged in this gigantic thing, okay? Like, look how huge this is.
It's a little big.
Huge, super excessive. It's like the Chinese were cheating. Okay?
This much you feel like you got your money's worth.
Ooh, fancy. Fancy. Look at all this extra stuff. Man, we could like insulate our house with this.
You put that in the wrong spot.
Okay, so this is the way the batteries come out of the package. We cheated because we wanted to have one charged in case the 45-mile-an-hour winds calm down. I'm just gonna suggest this.
And in case it wasn't.
Maybe don't fly your ultra micro in 45 miles an hour wind. Just my suggestion between friends. All right, so they come like this out of the package, brand new. And just keep in mind, if you can't find this particular battery, okay, I know some of you are thinking, but Brian, can't I just build a series connector and do two 300s or two 400s? If you have 400s that are 2S, that would be weird. The answer is maybe. You just gotta make sure it fits in the hole, okay?
Yeah.
If it fits, it ships. That's all I got to say. Now, as usual, we will build our little strappy thing, and I'll show you what I'm talking about right now. The strappy thing, okay, this one's not charged, so we could show the people charging. Okay, smart charger, S2200, it's gonna fire up right now. We've got an IC3 to IC2 adapter. Then we're gonna talk about the strappy thing. And you're like, Brian, we haven't even done radio setup yet. That's right, we gotta get this all set up so it can charge while we're doing it. Okay, stick this doohickey, the IC3, into that doohickey, boom. And on these smart chargers, you got the IC5 and the IC3, which is really nice. This is gonna bring you out to the IC2. You're gonna plug this in, it populates the screen with 15.2 volts. We're gonna plug in our balance lead. Now, because this isn't a smart charger, excuse me, a smart battery, you can use any dumb charger you want. I'm gonna use a smart one. Press this, set your range, 0.4 amps. Well, that's weird. You must have already charged one today, strange. And then start. Boom, now it's gonna start charging. You can press down and you can see where you are, or you can look at the status up here, which is really handy. Now, you don't need the S2200. You don't need two 200-watt chargers to charge this battery. You could use the S155, which is much cheaper. So if you guys are brand new to the hobby, or you're just getting back into it and you don't want to dump that kind of cash, because this is a pretty expensive charger. But it's a good charger and it's gonna do like almost everything you need, including your dumb batteries from yesteryear. Like for instance, this one. Say I wanted to charge this one, okay? Then all I need is my little adapter that's gonna get me in, and then I can use my balance lead. I just have to set up the charger every time. Whereas if I had a smart battery, just drawn at random, this one, then I can just stick it in the hole and it just goes. Guys, there's nothing like sticking it in the hole and just having it just go. Okay, getting back to the point.
Wait, you were doing your strappy thing. That's why we went over.
I know, that's why I walked over here in silence, okay? So we have to build the strappy thing, because after all that hard work, man, that is a gorgeous looking UMX.
It is.
So real quick distraction. UMX planes are beautiful, okay? They are some of the best flying little planes you can get. Now, yeah. I know some of you guys are thinking, yeah, but just because you have the Waco Taco, this is an ultra micro. This is an ultra micro. That Draco is not an ultra micro. It is almost an ultra micro, and yet it's still sub 250.
Yep.
Do you guys understand the difference? but it is sub 250.
It is.
The reason that isn't an ultra micro is because the same reason that the SR20, why Why can I not say SR71?
I don't know.
The SR71 is not an ultra micro. It is just a micro or a mini or a small. This is ultra micro. It's like extra small, okay? Glad we could settle that debate.
Okay.
Don't ask me. They didn't ask my opinion. Are you kidding me?
They didn't.
For those of you that are like, I hate this video, you don't agree with me. Welcome to the club. Okay. I know some of you are thinking, but Brian, I got 50 C2S packs. These ones, the one you're holding right now, can't I just build a series connector? Yeah, you could. But that's only 300 milliamp hours and not 450. That would be 50% less, or 2/3 of the requested size, or whatever they want to call this, required size, okay? So the answer to your question is, yes, you could, but I wouldn't probably suggest it, because EDF planes are gonna tend to use up the power and they're gonna use it quick. Plus JST is not gonna handle the current the way an IC2 will handle the current, okay? Let's all agree. JST is better than micro pH, because those things suck, even though we still use them a lot. This is a micro pH. I hate these things, okay?
What did it do to you?
They're small. They just don't have very much pin penetration. If you're gonna have penetration, I want deep and lasting penetration. And this is what we use in that helicopter we just reviewed the other day.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what's funny about that? It uses a micro pH connector, which I complained about just now. And that's fine, because it's all part of the show here on Brian Phillips RC. We show the good, the bad, and the ugly, along with the beautiful, the bold and the beautiful, okay? Tape, scissors, okay? We're gonna show you the next move. Why does it matter that it's using micro pH in that heli? Because that heli bogs. And guess what? I could just and put a JST, it'd be way better. What would be even better is an IC2. Why? Because then you have like a full pin penetration. So you have all this contact point all the way along your shaft. As opposed to JST, which is slightly better than micro pH, you basically have this pin on the side here that's gonna make contact, okay? And it's like a little square tip that goes in there. So you still get a heck of a lot more penetration contact point there. Have we met our quota yet?
You're getting close.
Okay. As opposed to this, where you got a dinky, tiny, little, teeny, tiny pin, and it just kind of touches the edge like that. That's all it does. And I'm like, ugh, not good enough. Not good enough. Okay? Whereas IC2 is kind of like this, okay? This is not an exact IC2 representation, but let's get them a close-up, camera crew. Let's get them a close-up.
Of what, your pile of stuff?
No, my pins. Look at my pin. That is a pin from a motor, okay?
They're so small.
I built this little adapter because I'm lazy.
Still.
Okay, you guys see that?
Yes.
That's still a pretty good amount of pin. And just to prove my point, literally my point, is I'm gonna go find another JS, oh, here it is. Here it is, guys, look. Here's another adapter, okay? You see that? See this? Watch this. Oh yeah, look at that. You tell me that penetration is as good as JST? Give me a break. JST, get out of here, JST. Have we settled the debate? So if you guys were wondering why I care, because I like current delivery on demand, especially whereas we're dealing with EDFs, because they suck and blow. They do. That's what they do. They're literally EDFs. They suck air in, they blow them out the tailpipe. Oh, goodness gracious.
Come on this way.
All right. So why are we making the strap doohickey? Let's talk about it.
Because you're anti-Velcro on your batteries.
So listen, here's one of the reasons why I'm anti-Velcro. Camera crew, got a gift for you.
I'll keep that for you.
Put it in the file cabinet.
I did.
Next to the safety label. Okay. All right, so let's talk about this. Why do I not want to put this Velcro on my battery? Okay. We all know I'm gonna use Velcro on this battery because it's not like I'm gonna use the strap in here because there isn't one, okay? How many of those do I have?
That'd be 1.
How many batteries do I have?
2.
Do I need to go any further? So for those of you at home and thinking to yourself, well, just buy another piece of Velcro, Brian. Yeah, right. Watch this. Oh yeah, that's perfect. That's a good fit. That's gonna give me a little bit of movement up and down. And what I wanna do, meaning up and down the length of the airplane, okay? If I need to make it more tail heavy, I can slide it back. If I need to make it more nose heavy, I can run it into the bulkhead here. I'm hoping we don't have issues with the center of gravity. We'll find that out here in a little bit, okay? So we've got that Velcro, we've got this tape here. This tape is just run-of-the-mill tape, nothing special other than I'm playing with it, okay? And that makes it special, okay? So watch this, see this? Watch this. I got this tape backward. It's clear, it's kind of hard to see on camera, but the truth is it's there, I promise it's there. It's like the wind. You can't see it, but you know it's there. Okay? Or Brian Phillips reviewing an airplane. You can't see him, but you can hear him across the room. Okay? So now I just touched it to itself, and now I'm gonna go out a little further. This is a big battery. It's thick. Now I cut it, see? Now watch this. This is pretty complicated stuff here. Watch this. It's gonna fool some of you. Watch this. Boom. Okay? And you're probably thinking to yourself, Brian, this is not that hard. Well, I kind of agree, but I'm trying to make a show of it. Okay? Look at that. Amazing, right? So now my first thing I'm gonna do on them is just slide that around, make sure we have a good contact, okay? I don't want it to stick to the battery because then I can slip this off and I can do the second one and I can use that same strap point, okay? Now, if you had more Velcro, you could just like cut this in half and you could share it or whatever. But in my case, I just wanna make sure it holds, okay? So you see that slides off now, okay? And usually what I like to do is I'll do this one layer and then I'll do a second one. And then that makes it really easy to sleeve it in and out. But I do not want this battery to slip while I'm in flight. And I've had really good luck doing this, folks. I know some of you are thinking, just put the dang Velcro on there and be done with it. You're not wrong.
You can put Velcro
You can do that. But I just hate Velcro on my packs, even though I will.
Velcro is gonna be longer than your tape.
Well, and that's kind of what I'm trying to decide right now, okay? So do I want to go at an angle or do I want to just like literally take half of this and make 2 of these things, okay? Because remember, then I can leave this fixture inside of this plane. And so as I move on the ranks to the next planes and so on and so forth, I keep this one battery. I'm not gonna have like 17 batteries. I'm gonna have a couple of batteries and I might have 17 planes and they share the same battery, right? Then this thing becomes a fixture in the plane, right? Mm-hmm. Now you can also take some baby powder, some talc or whatever and put it on there and make it easier to slide in and out, okay? And if you get a little bit crazy with your tape and you go on the edge like this and you wanna make this really easy to take on and off, then you can actually take this and rip it down. Now I know some of you are thinking, Brian, we've seen you do this 30 times. But just remember, for the benefit of those who haven't seen me yet do it 30 times, I just want you guys to understand, you have to keep in mind, there are people that are always new to the hobby and they're trying to learn how to do some of these things. And you're probably thinking to yourself, yeah, well, could you come up with like a more efficient way to do it? I mean, honestly, some of these things are just not very efficient. It's kind of a pain. I don't want to do this crap, but I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it on camera so you can watch me do it, okay? Now, if you guys are waiting for the radio setup, just go ahead and wait longer. It's coming, I promise, okay? So we're going to peel this right now and we're going to stick it down, okay? So this Velcro hook and loop, whatever they want to call it, it's usually pretty good stuff, but it's also like really small hook and loop. So it's not like just any hook and loop is gonna work as good as this stuff. You wanna use the provided stuff if you can, okay? So let's peel that off. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm probably gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna trim this down, okay? And then I'm gonna give myself a double purchase point, okay? So there's that, and then there's this, okay? See how I did that? Very basic, very simple, I just kind of centered it, okay? Now that's gonna allow me to hold this battery in, pushed all the way forward, because that's where I think it's gonna go, okay? And I'm just gonna squish it down, okay? I don't have to squish it really hard. Now I'm only demonstrating to show you that this works, okay? Remember, you're not gonna stop your plane and arrest its motion like I'm doing now, okay? I'm not trying to like be a jerk. I just want you guys to see that it works, okay? Normal flight, you're gonna be pretty smooth until you crash if you do. Or if you bounce in a rough landing or whatever, you may run the risk of like popping this up. But you do have some pretty strong magnets there, so I think it's gonna hold well, okay? So now, get ready for radio setup. It's coming right away. Camera crew is gonna take this little piece of whatever it is. Now we have these extra little things here. I think they're just extra details. I'm not even gonna mess with them, okay? Because I don't really care. I don't even know what that crap is. It's kind of weird.
Maybe when we open that magical directions.
Okay, and then there's an Allen wrench, okay? The Allen wrench is included, probably so that you can get the EDF fan off, because that's a really small Allen wrench, okay? Might be like a 1/4 millimeter. It's like really small, okay? So now, radio setup is one of the principal parts of what we do here on Brian Phillips RC, because if you're brand new to the hobby or you're just returning, then this is why you're probably here. So stay tuned, it's coming up next. All right, so we've got the manual, we've got the NX10. You don't need an NX10 to do this. You could do it on an NX7E or something like that if you wanna spend a little bit less, but you're just getting back in the hobby. The reason we like to push the 10 right now, and I know some of you are probably thinking, but the 10's expensive and there's like better options for this price point. I don't necessarily say that there's better or worse options. I'm just gonna tell you this. If you need help and you're brand new to the hobby and you want something that's gonna do a lot of different planes, like we're almost up to the model memory limit of 250 in here, okay? We have never run out of channels when we've got at least 10 to work with, okay? Not myself. Now that doesn't mean we won't ever, but so far we haven't, and we have hundreds of planes, guys, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of planes, helicopters, all sorts of stuff, okay? So if you want something that's gonna endure and you can spread the cost of this across 20 models over the next couple of years, this is a great way to do it. Remember, you're spreading the cost of this over a bunch of different bind and fly models or plug and play models, okay? So if you spend 550 bucks or 500 bucks if you get it on sale or whatever it happens to be, instead of 300 bucks, it's not like the end of the world. And just remember that, because you're gonna have so much more bang for your buck spread into each and every one of the planes that that thing touches, okay? So, and people ask that question constantly, and so I have a hard time repeating myself hundreds of times, but I do want you guys to understand, I'm not just trying to get you to spend a couple extra bucks. I would much rather you spend a lot less, buy one transmitter that does all these models, than spend a cheaper one, and then a little bit more expensive one, and then a little bit more. I'm sure Spectrum would love that. But the thing is, I don't want you to spend $1,000 trying to save $200 between this and that. Okay, that's why we show this. It's gonna do what you need for a long time. Okay, if you wanna get an IX20 and just go right for the sun, moon, and stars, that's fine, go for it. It's just, you're probably gonna get more help on NX right now because that's what we're doing and we have for thousands of videos. Okay, all right, so the UMX F-86 Sabre 30 millimeter EDF. Now, just to be clear, this is a 30 millimeter EDF, not a 28 millimeter. There was a 28 millimeter a while back. It tended to be a little bit underpowered. In my experience, I didn't like the 28 millimeters. It screamed even louder, but I do like the 30s a lot better, okay? So that being said, this is still an ultra micro. It is still gonna scream, and that's just part of it. But that extra 2 millimeters doesn't seem like it'd be a big deal. It is a pretty big deal, okay? All right, so we're gonna flip open the manual. We're gonna go into this. If you guys didn't know, it's an 18-inch wingspan. So it's 443 millimeters, and it's actually 466 long, so it's kind of an interesting plane because it's longer than it is wide, and that's with these swept wings. Of course, you get a lot of wing surface area, but it's swept, so you keep it kind of narrow. Brushless motor is a 1010, good Lord, it's small. 8,300 kV, that's nuts. And then the servos are Spectrum A201 2.3 gram long throw linear servos. One thing that's nice about these new ones compared to the old is they're serviceable in that there is a plug there. So if you have one that fails on you, which I know some of you are like, I've had them fail. Congratulations, welcome to the club. When they do fail, at least you can unplug it and you can put a new one in there. And all that means is you gotta cut the glue here, pop this little access off, pull out the old one, unplug it, glue the new one in, get everything ready to rock and roll. It's actually a relatively easy process, but you are gonna have to probably touch up a little bit of paint around here if you have to do that, okay? So that being said, you've only got one here, And then there's 2 that are inside, and I believe they're under this hatch. So you'd have to cut the top and access it, okay? Because they're not built into that board. Some of these multi-purpose brick receiver boards that have the AS3X and Safe on board, which they do, all the new ones do, they also have integral servos, not these ones though, okay? So this one, oh, yep, there's a board up inside of there. It looks like right up inside of there. So you can see one of those linear long throw servos, okay? It's up inside there. Mm-hmm. And then there's another one stacked right behind it, okay? So the linkage comes out here through this tube, and the linkage passes out this little tube here, okay? So really simple setup. I mean, nobody wants to work on these ultra micros anyway because they're a pain when you have to tear them up. You got to cut them open and all that stuff. And we've done it for years when and if we need to do modifications and stuff like that. Usually what I'm doing is I'm cutting them open so I can like try to add flaps or something like that, okay? All right, so continuing on. All right, so we are sub 250 on this if that wasn't already clear. Transmitter setup, we are gonna have telemetry on this, which is really nice. This is the NX series setup. If you wanna follow along without listening to me, you can do that. Or if you have the DX series, or if you have the IX series, they have split out the instructions. So obviously ours is over here, okay? So now, do we need to do anything special? Probably not, but we're gonna go ahead and start from scratch. I'm gonna cancel and back. I'm gonna scroll all the way down. We're actually retracting gear, trying to prep. Okay, so I'm gonna go to add new model. I'm gonna create an acro. That's an acro, okay? Why is it called an acro? I don't know. That's what they came up with. Okay, so it's creating, it's gonna take a little longer on mine because they have so many models. And then all we have to do is just follow through these step by step if you want. And we're on step 2 now. Then we're gonna input a name for the model after this is done creating. You guys notice that mine is taking forever. That's because when you get close to your model memory, it's working harder, okay? All right, so now we can go down to model name, model type. If you reset, that's gonna clear everything, so don't. And see how it says acro, that's the default. So now I can just look over at the box. It's a UMX F-86 Sabre 30mm EDF. So I'm gonna scroll that in and we'll come right back. All right, so we've got the UMX F-86 Sabre 30mm. Okay, so we got the name in there. We can hit back now. Then the aircraft type is already kind of set for us by default because if you look over here, they're just gonna add, the model name, aircraft type, one normal, and then normal, okay? So normal and normal. And then you can go next, select image. I'm gonna go from the standard file and I'll select something, I don't know. Is there one that looks especially good here? I don't know, probably the Habu would be close. Mm-hmm. These are just the standard ones. I'll just pick this. And you can upload your own. I just haven't ever done it because I haven't bothered with it yet. There we go. Okay, and then I come back out and we can set up the rest of the stuff now. This is gonna tell you all the different settings in some sort of a sensical order, okay? So model screen, scroll function list, okay, dual rates in expo. Okay, so now they're telling us how to do dual rates in expo. So I'm gonna cancel, bring it up. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set up throttle cut, highlight that, go to switch H. That's gonna basically, now if I go to monitor, you can see the throttle's not moving because the throttle cut's on. Once that's off, it's gonna go live. Okay, so it's working. When I move the stick up and down, throttle cut's on. Okay, so that's a safety issue, but let's just be honest, guys. If you have a safety issue of reaching something down this thing and getting cut, then, you got a problem I don't have. All right, so continuing onward. So the next thing we have to do is dual rates in expo. Now they're suggesting high rates 100%, expo 10%, low rates 70 with 5% expo. I'm not gonna do that. Oh, and there's their throttle cut, okay? So minus 100%. I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do. It's gonna deviate from this. I'll explain my rationalization, and then you guys can decide if you wanna do it your way or if you wanna do it the way they suggest in the manual. Rates in expo, okay? So there's 3 primary axes of control, the ailerons, the elevator, and the rudder. So I'm gonna set up on switch F. I'm gonna go 5%, then I'm gonna go 10%, then I'm gonna go 20. I'm gonna start with 10. That's in the middle, okay? And then here, I'm gonna set this 20 and I'm gonna drop my rates down to 90. And you're like, but that's not what they said in the manual. Congratulations, I don't often read the manual, okay? So there's where I'm starting. If I want less, I have about half the expo. If I want more, I've got about double. Keep in mind, you've got AS3X and safe on this model, and I'll show you how to make sure that it's working in a minute when we get there. You also might have noticed that we're pretty much done with the setup. Well, we're not done with the setup, and that's why you're watching Brian Phillips RC, is because we're not done with the setup, and yet you think you're done. That's because there's other pages. Okay, manual, right? I know that sounds pretty simple and basic, but just trust me on this, guys. From the box to the air, that's what we do here, okay? All right, so switch F, same switch, and you're like, but Brian, what if I want to split it out? Don't split it out. If you need to split it out, you're getting more sophisticated than the beginner RC enthusiast is gonna need help watching one of our videos from, okay? You got lots of switches here. If you get an NX20 or if you get an IX12 or an IX14 or IX20 or whatever, you're gonna have a ton more switches. You don't have to do it my way, but if you want my help, I would suggest you set it to one switch. Why? Start in the middle, make the sticks about where you want them. If you need a little bit more to get to the ground, you have now set yourself up a method for your madness. Let's say it's not touchy enough, well, you can go up to that and you can get to the ground. The idea is to set yourself up for success, okay? Not to have the plane perfectly tuned on the first go around, but just keep in mind, when we fly videos, I accidentally scrolled in E, you see that? I'm gonna highlight that again and go back to switch F. Highlight it and then switch F, okay? So if you bump your scroll wheel while you're doing that, it might go to the wrong channel, okay? Or the wrong switch, okay? What was I saying?
It's not gonna be perfect the first time.
Yeah, it's not gonna be perfect the first time, but just keep in mind, guys, when you see Brian Phillips RC videos, you're seeing us fly a maiden flight, or like the second flight or the third flight. We call them maidens, which I know is somewhat counterintuitive. We don't mean to be dishonest at all. When we do maidens, we don't have 17 flights on these when we show our video. We're showing you the virgin flights, guys. And that's because we're doing new planes. As soon as this one's done, there's gonna be another one. As soon as that one's done, there's gonna be another one, or a helicopter, or a VTOL, or whatever it happens to be. That's what we do on Brian Phillips RC. So if you wanna know how it comes out of the box and how it flies if you don't do some weird modifications to it, then this is where you wanna be. Okay, we're gonna show you that. Now, you know I'm not a perfect pilot, neither are you. And there's better pilots than us, and there's worse pilots than us. We're somewhere in the middle. We're kind of like an average starting point. So we're gonna give you an idea if this thing is gonna fly well. Not the best pilot. If I was the best pilot, I can make a turd look good, okay? I am not. I will make a turd crash into a tree, just like you. I hope it's not a turd. Okay, so same thing. Rudder, elevator, and ailerons. And you're like, yeah, but that's not what the manual said. I get it, guys. If you wanna have a high and low rates, which switch are you gonna use? They're all 3 position switches except for A, which would be used for retracts usually, okay? So you're gonna put high rates up here and low rates down below, and then what's gonna go in the middle? You see, I have rationalization for the reason I do this. I want a starting point, I want something to help me if it's too touchy, and I want something to help me if it's not touchy enough. And then I can get to the ground and I can set whatever control channel was giving me trouble. Let's say it was ailerons are too touchy. I can make them less touchy, and then I can make that the middle setting, and then I can double it and have it from whatever we set it to, okay? The idea is to give yourself success on your maidens so that your plane survives. Okay, all right, so we've got that all set. We got the throttle cut set. I don't even think the timer is gonna matter, but let's go ahead and set this to like 3 minutes, because it's, you know, it's an EDF. I don't think it's gonna last that much longer. Active, over 25%. That's a 1 out. Okay, at 1 minute, I want a voice. At 20 seconds, I want nothing. At 10 seconds, I want a voice count down. Whoops. And then I want an expiration tone and vibrate, and a tone every minute thereafter. That's the way I set it up. You don't have to do it that way. You can set it to whatever you want. You can set up for frequency updates where it's gonna tell you your timer has elapsed. Like it's not gonna say that, it's gonna say a time. And you can set that to updates every so frequently if you want. I don't like that. I just wanna know when it's out on my time. You know why? Because we're filming and I'm talking and blathering like this, just like you can imagine. But what we're gonna have is when I scroll over here, we're gonna have telemetry. And that telemetry is gonna tell us what the pack voltage is. It's gonna give us a nice little display and we'll show it to you next. Okay, so what do we need to do? We need to bind this model, okay? So you'll notice that it says flight mode 1. I never set up flight modes, okay? I never set up flight modes. I never made an attachment. It's probably going to function on the gear switch, the safe, or AS3X. Okay, AS3X being stabilization. So if the wind were to push down the wing, the ailerons are gonna go in the opposite direction to resist. Same thing is true if it pushes the nose down, it's gonna resist by pulling up on the elevator. Or if the push is up, it's gonna push down the elevator to resist. Same thing on the yaw axis. It's gonna be, you know, nose gets pushed over here, that rudder is gonna point, it's gonna try to resist, okay? That's AS3X. Artificial stabilization, 3-axis, okay? That's AS3X. Safe adds another element to AS3X because AS3X rides in the background, it continues to function, unless you turn it off, which would be stupid. And then it limits your bank angles so you can't flip upside down on accident. And it limits how steep you can go and how shallow you can go. But then when you let go of the sticks, instead of just crashing into the ground, it's gonna level the plane and it's gonna keep this thing. So you let go and it goes, whoop, it just brings it level. When you let go of the elevator, it's gonna bring it level. It's gonna fly hokey for an experienced pilot. And that's okay, because if you're not an experienced pilot, then it's gonna help bring you to a point where your plane has a higher level of survivability. SAFE stands for Sensor Assisted Flight Envelope, speaking to the envelope by which you are allowed to fly and within, okay? AS3X will also be happening when SAFE is on, but you can turn that SAFE on and off, and I'll show you how to do that next. Okay, so we gotta bind this model to this transmitter, because this transmitter and plane, they don't speak to each other yet, but they will, and I'm gonna show you how to do that right now. So my transmitter's on, sticks down, throttle cuts on for safety. We don't really care about the switches, although I wanna be in the middle just because then I know where I'm starting from. So I'm gonna basically click, go into the function list, and I'm gonna scroll down to bind. This is probably gonna time out, so I'm gonna just try to be ready, and then I'm gonna plug this thing in. Now, we'll probably have to dink around with the cables a little bit to figure out how this is gonna reach. We're gonna plug it in. You're gonna notice it's got this red flashing light. We hear the ESC initiating. Now it's going into the bind mode. You see how it's red, green, red, or red, blue, and then a fast flash there. Now I'm gonna scroll down to bind again because it just timed out on me. You can also press and hold the I switch while powering up. DSMX, 22 milliseconds, auto configuring the telemetry. Remember, this is a transceiver, that's a transceiver. Okay, smart battery alarm. Battery overcharged. Camera crew, what did you do to my battery?
I did nothing.
Okay, so first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scroll down here to telemetry. I'm gonna go to smart battery. Okay, I'm gonna shut this off because I don't care. And I'm also gonna shut off the startup voltage because I don't care. Now you might want that, and I'm gonna shut that off because I also don't care, okay? Now I'm gonna go to Smart ESC, and I'm gonna look. Oh, look at that, they have that set. Now, does this talk about the motor ratio? Let's see. It's probably gonna be a little bit further in the manual. Okay, so this is kind of like your safe select. If you don't have forward programming, you can look at that and you can bind different ways. I would not recommend it. Okay, 77 millimeters back on your center of gravity. We'll talk about that here in a minute. AS3X, it's not activated until you put the throttle stick over 25%. Okay, let's see if it says anything. I haven't seen it yet. Looks pretty simple. There is a singular screw to take off the nose gear, it looks like. That's kind of a bummer. Here's your EDF module, okay? And then I'm not seeing anything here yet about telemetry. Do you see it? I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either.
Let's go back to the first page just to double check. Oh, and by the way, if you guys are brand new to Brian Phillips RC and you want to help support us, all you need to do is look in the video description below. You can buy the plane for yourself. All you do is you follow the links, you get your RC bucks, all that stuff, just like normal, whatever RC program, whatever loyalty thing you got, you just follow the link. They'll know we sent you there. then they send us commissions. That's how we make money doing this, okay? If it was any question, that's how that works. When you buy the batteries, when you buy the plane, when you buy the transmitter, it all helps and it adds up. So don't think it's nothing, it is something.
And if you can't find the video description because the button has moved or YouTube has changed it, I'm trying to put them in the first comment.
Yeah.
So if you scroll down and find the comments, that's usually easier too. If
or you can go to brianphillipsrc.com and you can find it. And I think if there's a coupon code, something like that going on, we usually try to have that stuff published there for you.
Yep.
And you can also sort by plane type, brand, manufacturer, hobby shop, whoever we're working with on a video, and you can find it that way. Or maybe this isn't for you. Maybe you want to find a bigger F-86, or maybe you want to find, you know, like a micro Draco that's not an ultra micro. This is just ultra, just micro. You can find that too. All you got to do is go to brianphillipsrc.com. Yeah, it's spelled just like the channel spelled with an I.
All I's.
B-R-I-A-N. Phillips, P-H-I-L-L-I-P-S. RC, like radiocontrolled.com.
So we planned it or something.
Yeah. So anyway, all right, guys. So I'm just looking
so
here.
Still looking.
I'm not seeing anything about the telemetry. There is actually some settings here that sometimes will help you to set that in, okay? But I also don't really care. I'm just gonna leave it at total of 4 cells, and I'm just gonna leave that there, and then we're gonna walk out. Now it's already auto-configured, and you can see a little smart icon, so that's pretty sweet. So you can see that right there. That's pretty nice. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scroll over here. Oh, you can see the receiver pack voltage. That's nice, 4.3. And then look at that. We've got all sorts of min-max on the ESC. And there's the beautiful bar of delight. Okay? Shows the nominal voltage at 16.9. That means the voltage of all the cells together. Okay? And that's where it ends. Okay? So there is no smart ESC for thrust reverse. So in this case, I'm not believing that we're going to see thrust reverse. Now, if you're asking yourself, why would I need thrust reverse on an ultra micro? You would be correct in assuming you probably don't. But when you fly off of a smaller runway like we do, and you're flying bigger jets and stuff like that, it is very helpful. 275 feet gets eaten up quick. And our runway is significantly narrower than most runways. We're like as narrow as about 10.5 feet and as wide as about like 13, 14 feet. And then it just, you know, that's where we fly from, is about 47 feet wide.
And we were commenting the other day for some reason about how much our trees have
gotten taller.
We were looking at something from about the time we moved in, and it's amazing how much the trees have grown in a few years.
And no, we're not going to cut them down. We love trees.
Still not.
Okay. So you guys see this. So I'm going to take a second. I'm just going to slide this wire in here and make sure that everything feels good. We'll also, I don't want to put a lot of side pressure on this because I don't want it to undo. And I really would not like my connector on the board if I can avoid it, but it looks like it's going to end up there. The Hextronics balance lead is sitting on top of there. Now, I just want to point out there is a huge cavity here that's going to allow for a tall battery. This drops in, falls down into position, and we have it sitting there. Now, let's talk, before we do forward programming, about CG, because I don't want to forget to talk about it. 77 millimeters back from the leading edge, measured at the inboard portion of the wing, is where we want to make sure this thing balances out. Now, why do I care? Because this is a detailed scale airplane. I do want to make sure it balances. Most of the time on UMXs, they're pretty forgiving. However, I've noticed that on the more detailed EDF jets, they get pretty picky still. Okay, so 77, is that what it said, Cameron?
It is, yeah.
Okay, so 77, oh, I thought maybe I saw something. I did not. Okay, never mind. So it's right there. So we're measuring from the inboard portion right here. And we're gonna go back 77 millimeters. All right, so 77 millimeters, we're gonna turn this on. We're gonna go out to 77, and there's not a plus or minus, it's just 77, which is kind of nice actually.
Yes.
Is there a plus or minus?
No.
No, wow. That's like first time ever.
A long ways back.
Okay, yeah, it is. And that's because of the swept wing. So I'm just holding this, and all I'm doing is just kind of sweeping it out. And I'm just gonna make a little dent, okay? And then I'm gonna hold this right above. Whoops, I bumped it with my belly. Dang it. Okay, so good enough. You see that? There's my mark. So if you can't find that mark, I wanna tell you where it is. Look, there's a strut right here that's right about 77 millimeters, okay? Upside down, we're obviously in safe. I'm balancing it on those points. You can see AS3X is trying to flip the plane level. It's trying to find the quickest route to level. Now look at the elevator. It's trying to find the level. That's about level. Now it's trying to find level. Now remember, AS3X and safe. AS3X is not working yet, but safe is, okay? And you're like, but I thought they worked together. Only after 25% throttle output will AS3X come to life. You'll notice an appreciable volume change in the annoying of the servos, okay? When the AS3X goes active, okay? That's one of the reasons it's good to have it not active, because it is kind of annoying, okay? So that manual is useless to me now. Dead to me, manual. All right, so let's talk about the rest of the setup. We know our CG's about right. Elevator up, elevator down. We're just double checking control surfaces. I like this screen when I'm flying, especially for a Maiden. Up, down, roll left, roll right. Looks like they've got mix here when you're in safe. Rudder, rudder, ooh, really good rudder. Rudder authority, I like it, okay? So now I'm just gonna, it balances really nicely on the mains. That's cool. And I like wheels up, wheels down, but if you guys don't want wheels up, wheels down, I'm not gonna beat you up. You can take these things out and you can fly this. There's a singular Phillips screw here, but it does look like it's got a pretty good bend on it. See that? It's square now. Did you see what I did? I just kind of turned it. Okay. Historically, the nose gear on ultra micros, usually, first of all, it's a tail gear, but with the steerable wheels on ultra micros, we've gotten so much better than we used to be because the shaft size is appropriate for the weight of the aircraft. If you go too big, it's gonna make it too heavy. If you go too small, it's not gonna steer the plane. So we're gonna see how this works. And we do have some nice supple wheels. They are squishy, even though they're small. They still tend to bounce. I hate to break it to you. Ultra micros just love to bounce, mostly because you get into ground effect and you know, you're a pilot like me, you're gonna bounce that thing once in a while. All right, so continuing onward. Now I wanna talk about, let's go to the monitor mode. I'm guessing, so I'm gonna just scroll over until I see the channels. Okay, there they are. One of these channels is gonna turn safe on and off. Let's just assume it's gear. Why did I assume that? Yep, I was correct. Okay, so gear turns it on and off. How do I know? Because now it's quiet. Because I haven't given throttle yet. But also look, it's not trying to find level, okay? So in my case, the gear switch toward me is gonna shut off it's gonna shut off safe and it's just gonna leave us in AS3X. I want it like that. I wanna flip the condition of that. Now, I don't have a flight mode assigned. You don't have to do any of that. I am going to go to servo setup and flip that condition. So I'm just doing a reverse on gear, okay? So now that means if my gear are down, which should be down like this, AS3X should be active, okay? I'm gonna give throttle. Throttle cuts off. That sounds good.
Yeah, it does.
Show them the plants. You guys see the plants? They're not moving a lot, but they're moving. Okay, so now that we have given AS3X a chance to come alive, it's obviously working. So you can see it correcting. It's kind of hard to see on camera, so I doubt, well, actually you can see. So I'll show you. Okay, so right here, guys, you see the rudder. Moving this way, it's correcting. Moving that way, it's correcting. Moving this way. Now elevator, same thing up, the same thing down. Ailerons, up, down, or more specifically and correctly, if you can't see it, you can feel it. Okay, up, down, and it's kind of hard to tell on the ailerons, okay? But you can tell it's working, and then if I go to safe, it's gonna try to find level, okay? So now we know that when I pull the gear up, it's gonna go into safe, okay? So it's gonna confuse the heck out of me, and I'm gonna try to take off, and then it's gonna limit my bank angles, and that's just something we'll have to live with. Now, let's see if forward programming does anything. I doubt it will, so let's just assume it's not going to. I'm gonna go back to AS3X, throttle cuts on, throttle stick is down. I'm gonna clear my timer because I don't listen to it chime. We're gonna scroll into forward programming, Forward programming may not connect. Okay, so there wasn't a connection to that. So that simplifies everything. So basically all we need is the channels. Okay, so let's go over to the monitor again. So you can see we have the elevator, we have the ailerons, we have the rudder, we have flaps do nothing, and we have safe. So we're basically talking about a 5-channel setup, okay? Which is pretty cool. And it's on those channels. Now, can you add flaps? I don't know, maybe. The way you would do it if you were gonna do it would be to go in here and land on one of those ports, and then you would have to add those in. It's gonna be a lot of work, and on a relatively light plane, just remember you have limited weight to work with if you wanna say stub 250, okay? But I don't know if this thing's gonna slow down good or not. I honestly don't know. I tend to think the wing loading on this is gonna be really good, and it's gonna fly well slow anyway. Now, does that mean I don't wanna see flaps? Heck no, I wanna see flaps. I would rather see flaps. I'm a big flaps guy. I use flaps all the time. It's just part of my normal flying thing, okay? If you guys don't use flaps, start using them. It opens up the flight envelope of almost every plane. That plane right there doesn't have flaps because it doesn't in real life, okay? This plane in real life would have flaps, okay? So I like flaps. I'm a flap kind of guy. All right, so we've answered all the questions on how to set this up. We have AS3X and Safe active. We didn't have to activate it. It just was active. Most of the time, you have to go into forward programming and assign a channel, which is going to command and control a flight mode. And you can still do a flight mode on this and assign the flight mode to gear. And then you could put this over on the D switch, or you could put it on whatever. And then you can make it so that it basically trims for safe and trims for AS3X separately if you want. I'm not gonna do any of that. I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. I think we have enough set up in this plane to have a successful maiden flight, 2 or 3 of them, and to enjoy it. And we hope that you will too, because this thing is absolutely gorgeous. I cannot wait to see it fly. And by the way, this livery is weird because it says Bill's Baby over here, and then it says the Huff on the other side.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So that must be the way that that plane is decorated, because that's the way our other one that's finished the same way. It looks that same way. So very cool plane. UMX stands for Ultra Micro Extreme, and they mean it. Why? Because it flies like a big one, except it's sub 250, and it's considerably cheaper, and it's gonna be more flyable at different airstrips. Now, where do we lose on this compared to the bigger one? You're gonna lose flaps, you're gonna lose air brakes, you're gonna use retracts. You're gonna lose retracts, you're gonna lose LEDs. So there's a lot at stake there. But also you're gonna go from 4S, a really cheap battery, to a very expensive battery requiring a more expensive apparatus for charging. And then you're gonna all of a sudden need the 10. You're not gonna be able to do it with something less sophisticated, okay? So, pros and cons with everything. I'm gonna tell you this. If you like the F-86, you're gonna want both. That's just the way it is. And even if it isn't your everyday flyer, which I'm not saying it's not going to be, I still want it. Because when I see an iconic airplane like the SR-71 over here, or the Draco, or the P-51, or the Waco, which by the way, the Waco is fantastic. It flies like a big plane all day long. You can fly it in light winds. You're gonna have an enjoyable experience, but dead calm. Get home from a long day of work and just fly a couple of flights at your cul-de-sac. You don't gotta worry about the FAA coming and putting you in the pokey because it's all sub 250. Ultra Micro Extremes give you the big flight experience in a small package for a smaller budget. Now, does that mean you don't want the big plane too? Absolutely not. Couldn't be further from the truth. But I'm gonna tell you this, not everybody is gonna be able to get to the flying field and be able to drag their stuff out of their car and do all that before the sun sets. And that's why Ultra Micro Extremes are so extreme. Is because you're gonna be able to fly on a limited time budget and money budget. And that's why I love them, because you can get away with a big experience in a small, sweet looking package. okay? And all you have to give up is a couple of flaps and maybe some retracts, maybe some air brakes, but it's a different experience. And you don't always need that in these smaller planes. That being said, we started Brian Phillips RC years ago. I used to always try to put flaps and LEDs and things like that on these ultra micros. It can be done if you want the project. It's super fun. And I would encourage you to fly them first and make sure that you feel like you need that feature, because there were a few ultra micros that I kind of ruined putting flaps on, but I still did it. Like to the point, to the tune of, I'm putting second receivers in these planes. I mean, it was very complicated and lots of work, but it was super fun and rewarding. So if you're brand new to the channel and you don't know what we do here, we unbox them, we build them, we radio set them up, and then we help you guys with step-by-steps so that you can follow along. If you don't know anything when you came to this video, you'll know enough to get this thing in the air. Now, that does not mean you're gonna know how to fly. And make no mistake, Safe, AS3X, they make them easier to fly, but they don't fly for you. Even though it keeps it level, if you put AS3X and Safe on, this thing is gonna go level when you let go of the 6. That doesn't stop this plane from stalling. It sure as heck doesn't land it, okay? So when you're learning to fly, if you want a help to get from the chair to the air, don't be afraid to invest in a simulator. They're not very expensive. You can get Real Flight, 9 point whatever it's at. We got links to that stuff. It's a good way to get started. But I like the pain and suffering that comes with learning, because I think it's faster for your average adult dude that has a real life and goes to real work and comes home and needs something real that's tangible and painful when you make mistakes. I think it's gonna teach you quicker. I think you should be learning in the air and on the simulator when it's rainy, windy, freezing cold, whatever. Or go out and fly in the rain and the wind. But it's just gonna be a lot more expensive to do that, okay? I did it all the time. Every time I could fly, I flew. I was burning up motors left and right. I was burning through batteries like crazy when I first started flying. Sport Cub S UMX, it was one of my first planes. I loved it. Ultra Micro Extreme. I took that thing, I put Safe on, I had it in my hand. I was like here in my neighbor's yard over here. We didn't live here at the time. I took him through that thing and I said, holy crap, it just flew like 50 feet, straight as an arrow. I said, God has controlled my airplane. And I said, I can do it. And you can too. Because I'm not saying this is gonna be the first plane you wanna get necessarily, but it might be a cool experience. And it might not be, because here on Brian Phillips RC, we understand there's a right plane for you right now for your specific reasons, and not necessarily the marketing team at Horizon Hobby or FMS or whoever happens to be that given day that we're reviewing a plane for. But the truth is, we know everybody is at a different spot, making a different decision for different reasons, whether it be a budget, dollar amount, a budget time thing. Maybe you got your kids playing sports, you don't have enough time to get to the flight field, but you just gotta satiate this feeling. You gotta get in the air. Ultra micros are perfect for that.
And if you're getting back into the hobby and you're looking at this versus more of like a ready to fly toy grade, you're gonna get way more of a hobby.
Yes, hobby grade experience.
Yeah, and you're getting the stuff you're going to need when you get the bigger plane.
So you're not good money after bad experiencing the F-86. And that's why we say, get the NX-10 now, maybe skip the NX-6 or the 8 right now, and just go straight to the 10. Yeah, you're gonna blow a couple $100 extra bucks. You know, your wife isn't gonna know the difference between the two, I'm just saying. Unless she's watching the video, maybe she'll know. But the thing is, at the end of the day, if you know you're gonna be in it, that's when I say go ahead for it, okay? Now, if you wanna save a few bucks, you can get your NX-7E. It's gonna give you a lot of the features you need, but you're gonna lose a couple audio events. You're gonna have a little bit less, you know, the screen is a little bit smaller. It's a little bit less sophisticated. Obviously, the gimbals are a little bit better on the 10. I can't tell the difference, to be honest, guys. But I'm just talking about the channels. You want the channels, because then you can fly the plane that's got the air brakes later when you're ready for it.
Yeah.
Because the F-86, it's bigger right now, has air brakes on it, which is pretty freaking cool. So guys, we love doing these reviews. We love showing what planes have to offer, but we also understand that not every plane is for everybody at every time because we don't want to perpetuate one and dones. That's why we don't like it when we see somebody like Cletus out there flying B-2s and crashing them and just making stupidity out of these beautiful planes, you know? If you buy a $700 jet and you buy a $200 pack and you buy $1,000 worth of chargers and transmitters and you go, you're done. I promise you, you're never coming back because your wife is gonna murder you if you do, okay? So don't do that, don't do that. That's stupid, it's dumb marketing. It makes an embarrassment of our hobby. And the thing is, that B2 is freaking sweet. Excuse me, B1. B2, what am I saying? B2. So anyway, nothing against Cletus. You got a great channel, you got a huge following. It's awesome. Obviously, I'd be jealous. But the truth is, I wanna see this hobby win and perpetuate success. And those of you that think it's cool to watch a little plane fly around, I wanna help you guys do it. And the way we do it is not by telling you, oh yeah, go spend 2,000 bucks and then go crash it in your front yard and look like a fool and break some rules and hurt your neighbor's feelings and your own budget and get your wife so pissed off she's never gonna let you buy another plane unless you get divorced, right? We want to give you guys the tools to make better decisions. And that's why we do it here on Brian Phillips RC. So if you guys are brand new, welcome. We want you here with us. We're gonna help you get out of the chair and into the air. And the easiest way to do it is to follow the steps we tell you. Listen to the advice, and if you're like any other man, it's gonna be in one ear and right out the other. You're probably gonna go buy that B2 and crash it, but then you'll be like, oh wow, that rings true now that I've done it. Okay, so now that you've done it, and your wife did murder you, we're gonna give you some good advice. We'll try to get you in the right direction. Or you can just skip that really painful and expensive step. Because remember, on like the 17th or 18th plane, that might be the perfect choice for you. And we're gonna help you with that too, hopefully, someday, maybe. But in the meantime, while we're not covering that, because Cletus got that covered, then we are gonna help you pick something that's gonna give you success and a good experience. Now, also, my camera crew said something really briefly, and I don't wanna go too much deeper into the weeds, but the truth is, you are gonna get a hobby grade experience from a small package in Ultra Micro Extremes. They're a little bit more expensive than the cheap throwaway stuff. And I'm not saying there's not a time and place for that, because there might be. If you wanna wet your whistle with some cheap throwaway thing, fine, but just understand something. It's not the same and it's very different.
Yeah.
Anybody who has flown the cheap throwaway, $90, $100 throwaways, you'll understand what I'm talking about. They're super fun. You don't feel bad when you crash them. They hold up a little bit better. They're made of a different type of foam. This is EPS. It's gonna be more delicate. It's gonna be more touchy. That's how they make it beautiful and still light enough to be a hobby grade experience. Also means it's gonna bear the scars of bad landings. It's gonna break a little easier. And that's why they say skill level 2 and not anybody can do it.
Yeah.
Cletus. I'm just saying.
The other ones are good.
They're fun.
For kids, they were great.
Yeah, but you're not gonna get the same experience. And I'm telling you, the difference between this experience and that is the difference between continuing in a hobby and that was fun for 10 minutes.
Right, yes.
I'm not exaggerating. I'm telling you from personal experience. This is just what's sitting here. The basement is full. 1,800 square feet of it, and then some. We have other buildings full now. So I'm speaking from personal experience, and I love this hobby, okay? Flying RC, especially fixed wing, and no, I'm not trying to beat anybody up if they love helis. I love helis too, but I like fixed wing even better. Why? Because it's harder in ways. It requires watching an environment. I love the third person viewpoint. I don't really like FPV myself. Some people love it. I'm not trying to beat you guys up either. But the truth is, I love watching an air show and being a spectator that's in control. It's awesome. As a kid, I would have killed to have this type of technology. I remember making wish lists for my parents. I want a plane that's small, that has all these details, that I can fly inside the house. We're living that dream right now. Now, maybe not this one. You'd have to have a huge house. But the truth is, Ultra Micro Extremes are close as you're going to get. And there are some planes that you could fly in still a pretty big house. We've flown them in gymnasiums and things like this. So if you're flying this in like a golf dome or something like that, you might have a flight club that does that. You could totally do that. But you just got to remember, you still need a pretty broad open space with EDF jets. They take space to fly. All right, so we've given some good advice. We've given some, technical proficiencies that you can use to make your equipment work, to make your charger work. And also, we've given you some encouragement because you might need that to just get off the chair and get into the air. Because at the end of the day, it is not the easiest sport. It is one of the most rewarding, okay? Because where it fails at being easy, it succeeds at being awesome. And the truth is, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And we would love it if everybody was doing this. But the truth is, if you don't have a little bit of patience and a little bit of persistence, a little bit of hard-headedness, then this hobby is probably tougher than you want. So we're gonna try to make it as easy as possible so you can enter with the lowest bar possible and find some level of success. So don't start with this plane and you're like, but Brian, you just told me to get it like 5 minutes ago. No, I said if you're gonna buy it from the links in the video description below. Support Brian Phillips RC and our family of 6 and what we're doing here at this property, which is gonna be super cool, building an aerodrome. But if you're not ready for it, get something you are ready for. The Draco would probably be a better first plane than this. But would be even better than that would be this Work Hub S or the Apprentice Stoll 700 millimeter, okay? Which is admittedly much less cool looking than this. But yes, you'll have success.
Don't buy a pretty plane for your first plane.
If you do, it ain't gonna be pretty for long.
It's not. And you're gonna be sad.
You'll be very sad. But it's not like, crash and ouch my balls, I gotta go sell my car so I can pay the bill. So you could. And truthfully, if this is a skill level 2, that means it's gonna be a relatively easy to fly plane. But remember, relatively easy to fly compared to what?
Right.
Compared to the SR-71, compared to the F-7 right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, compared to the Waco. Waco would be another great first-ish plane.
And if you have some affinity for this plane, but you are learning to fly, buy it and put it on the shelf.
Exactly. Or build some cool plane stand like the one my son built for this thing, which is super cool. I got to show you this. So we built this little plane stand. My son actually 3D printed this with the Creality. What is the Creality thing?
We have the K1 Max.
The K1 Max. Okay. So he printed this and I gave him a bunch of details and I was like spec 1, 2, 3, 47, 80, 90, 100.
Yeah.
And I wanted this thing so that we could store this because this plane has 1 million antennas on it. And it is an amazing, this is not an ultra micro, it's a little bit bigger than an ultra micro, so it's just a micro. Also the big brother, big sister if you will, 2-meter Draco is amazing. Is it a first time plane? Probably not still, but it's amazing. And we wanted something that would hold this up in the air, and so my son built this. It's super cool. 3-piece design, really neat. So look at this, guys. That's something else, really cool. So then it holds it. Booyah, ready to go. Pretty awesome. When you find yourself with a lot of ultra micros, you're gonna wanna find a way to store them. Why not just put it on the table, Brian? Because I can straddle the wings of another plane with this. And that's why this is so cool. And so guys, look at that. Look at that, sitting side by side, looking gorgeous all day long. So cool. All right, now that we've wet your whistle with things you can't order, hit us up if you're curious in the email. But comments down below. Let us know what you think of the F-86. Let us know why this is an ultra micro, because I know you're thinking about it. And let us know how annoyed you are that you need a new battery. You're welcome. Follow the links in the video description below. We hope the battery is not a deal breaker for anybody. Truth is, you got a new battery for this one too. And if you did, it's a 4S 300. Okay? 300 milliamp hours. That's 450 4S as well. Also JST compared to IC2. So if you're gonna do that, there is an adapter that you either have to buy or build. And I'm not saying that you have to do one versus the other, but I just wanna remind you that you can buy an adapter that's gonna take you, I believe, just make sure you get the right direction, okay? So if you have this battery already, you can buy this adapter and you can go from JST to IC2. Do you guys see that? I show you that because I know some of you are thinking, I just got this new battery for the Draco and I want to use it. Okay. I'm going to warn you though, and we talked about this earlier. This is why Brian Phillips comes to light, okay? Because I bring up details that are uncomfortable for the manufacturers, even though we supposedly work with these guys, right? JST is not equivalent to IC2. Why? Pin contact area, current handling area, okay? JST is still a lot better than nothing. It's a lot better than micro pH. So technically you could still do this. Am I gonna do that? No, I'm not. Why? Because I happen to have the right size battery and I don't think you're gonna get the CG to work with this.
It's a lot smaller.
So, why did you watch this whole long video with lots of blathering and up and down and exciting and boring all wrapped into one? Because you love the hobby and you're trying to make a good decision. And hopefully we answered all your questions, then even a little bit more here on Brian Phillips RC, because that's what we do. We love the hobby. We love that you're here with us. World's best audience on Brian Phillips RC. So we appreciate you guys watching. F-86, check it out in the links to the video description below. Obviously not this battery, but the 450 milliamp 4S is gonna be the way to go on this particular battery. And we'll link to that as well. Keep in mind, not a smart pack. It's still got a balance lead. You're still gonna have to plug in your balance lead and your micro pH. No. JST? No. IC2. And I know some of you are thinking, oh, IC2, I hate IC2. It's not an IC3 and it's not an IC5. I get it. And I also do slightly be annoyed as well because with the IC2, of course, we have a different gap than if you were to go with XT60, whereas XT60s end up compatible with IC3 and IC5 end up compatible with XT90s. I know what some of you guys are thinking. They're not actually compatible, and they aren't. I hear what you're saying, but you can cram them together and they'll work, okay? IC2, not so much. Not compatible with an XT30, which would be the compatible size class for pin contact, just so you know. Okay, we answered all the questions and a little bit more. I'm sure, okay, everybody asked what I just answered. Ready, go in the comments below. And if you guys have additional questions that I didn't already answer, you can leave those down below. We'll do our best to get to them. And as usual, we really appreciate you guys being here with us. This one's a little longer than it needed to be, but that's what we do on Brian Phillips RC. So we appreciate you being here with us. Obviously, cannot wait to fly this thing. If Mother Nature would just cooperate, that'd be great. Because we would have already flown this like for the last 3 weeks when it's been like 1,000,000 miles an hour. What was the wind the other day? It was like 13 gusting to 45.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that does not do well for microplanes, especially not ultra micro. But you will penetrate wind a little bit better with a jet than you might on something like this with super low wing loading. This actually happens to be kind of a heavier plane. So anyway, guys, lots more coming right around the corner. Look no further than BrianPhillipsRC.com. If you want to find a similar or different plane, maybe you hate this one and you're like, hey, you answered my questions, you talked me out of it. That wasn't my intention, but truthfully, maybe that's exactly what you needed to happen. And we talked you into something even better for what you need right now. That's what we do on Brian Phillips RC. So if we helped you meet your needs, let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to smash the like button. It does help with the way that YouTube treats us within the algorithm of perplex magic, voodoo magic. Because at the end of the day, we don't really pick how YouTube recommends our videos. We just make them and then we hope you guys get some value out of them. And if you do, the best thing you can do to support us is to buy these planes from the links, including the batteries, transmitters, chargers, things like that that we have. Very easy for you to find. And don't forget the adapters if you need them, because the adapters are going to be necessary, which is why I go into great detail on videos like this, because there is nothing worse than getting home and not having the thing you need to fly the plane. You will be annoyed. We don't want you to be annoyed. We want you to be happy. That's why you watch Brian Phillips RC, even though it's a super long video. Have we answered every question?
Yes, and then a few, probably.
Yep, that's right. Okay, guys, thanks so much for watching. So much more coming from Brian Phillips RC right around the corner. Oh, if you want to support us in other ways, we have Patreon, PayPal for one-time donations. YouTube super thanks and YouTube members. So YouTube members and Patreon members, thanks for being members. We still think the better way of supporting us, just so you guys know, even though we appreciate you supporting us on a regular routine basis, would be to buy these amazing planes. But for those of you who have worn out your welcome with your spouse and yet you still want to support us financially, you can do that stuff. And that's why we turned it on the YouTube begging site, also known as Patreon, a few years ago. And then we turned on the YouTube members whenever they like bribed us. Because they did. That's what YouTube did.
Or if you're overseas. But we do have EU links, for especially for this or the Draco. Yeah. We've had a couple of comments on that lately. Right. We do have them.
We have master links.
Yep.
And the master links are going to be just below the current plane that you're seeing the video for, like the F-86 UMX, the battery, the adapters. Yep. And then there's no receiver in this because it's bind and fly. So we'll have a transmitter. So probably just a link to the NX10. All right, that should be about it. We've answered all the questions, and we really appreciate you guys tolerating my still coming back from the brink voice. Hopefully it'll be back to full strength by the next couple of videos. But here's to hoping. Oh, and by the way, if you wondered, I did get my balls lasered. This one in particular, PRK. That's touch-up number Tres Amigos. Laser surgery, first 2 times were LASIK. They cut a flap, they open it, they laser my balls, they close the flap. I'm pretty much healed like literally hours later. That was number 1. Number 2, had a small complication on number 2, went in, scraped it with an O-ring pick, and then we were golden for a few more years and flash forward to the PRK, which happened to happen while I was sick and it was terribly windy. So we decided it would be fun to do taxes.
Yes.
After they lasered my balls. The only reason I tell you that is because that's the other reason that I have been off the air for a few days, because my vision will be hopefully getting back to like a 90% on my left eye, and the pain and suffering is all over, and they're gonna pull this like weird protective contact lens out tomorrow. So I'm super excited to share that if you're even remotely interested in not being blind anymore, LASIK is awesome. I would highly recommend it. And no, I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I just want to share good things. That was probably one of the smartest $4,000 I spent in my life. That was $4,000, and I have never paid except for little like incidental crap. Like I spent $30 on stuff that they made me buy.
All the
There's
drips
like eye drips, like antibiotic drops, and there were some numbing drops this time, and then there was like a bunch of re-wetting drops.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty good value actually for $30.
But you did your original LASIK over 10 years.
I don't know how many years ago, but it's been a long time. And I wish I would have done it 10 years before, because they told me I was a bad candidate for 10 years plus, and I was not a bad candidate. I was a good candidate. And I wish I would have done it because it was a great maneuver. I would have saved literally thousands of dollars on contact lenses. I went in and gave them a stack like this of just used, like my contact lenses that were not used yet. And it hurt my soul because I had been like saving them up like some idiot. So that's your unsolicited advice at the end of an already long video for Brian Phillips RC. If you didn't get it, you're probably not watching a video.
Thanks to all 3 of you that are still here.
All 3 of you are the best. So if you're still here watching at the end of this video, thanks for being here. If you haven't disowned us because of a remote ID video for a few weeks ago, thanks for being with us. Believe me, we don't like the rule either. But we do love serving this hobby. And so we're going to be here for many, many moons to come. And thanks for being with us. We appreciate you. Come back for more.